Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed, man. I want to welcome everybody into G Bush Live special 2021 draft edition. For all those watching this on a replay, we're going to be going with you, relive all of the stuff that you're going to watch right now. Right now, you're probably watching on the replay. You'll get an opportunity to get my thoughts. You'll get an opportunity to roll with me through, the time machine, so to speak. And we're going to do it up big tonight, man. We're going to do it up big tonight, man. First of all, I want to shout out every single person. When you come on in, please make sure you hit that like button. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please make sure that you're sharing this on all your social media platforms. I want you to share this on, and shout out to the people that's on Twitch, man. I appreciate you on Twitch, man. Shout out to everybody. YouTube is definitely in the building. Barbershop YouTube is always in the building. Y'all is in the building. I got to show the love for the people that's already out here. People that's on Facebook. Shout out to you guys, man. We still build and we still doing that. This is streaming live on G Bush's profile, and it's on the Barbershop's platform as well. So we want to thank every single person for watching this, and we want to get into it. Hopefully, we got a really important day for the Cleveland Browns. We're going to do it from a perspective of the Cleveland Browns because that's what we do on this channel a lot for the Cleveland Browns. But this is going to be all over the place. This is going to be giving a perspective of what we've seen so far. We've seen some moves go so far. We'll be able to touch base on that. We've seen some moves. We've seen some smoke screens. 49ers fans, we've seen some smoke screens, right? We've seen what the game is right now. And we looking around and it's like, yo, what happened to the Mac Jones pick? You can already see what's going on, what the perspective is in this situation. So this is going to be an awesome show, man. First and foremost, we always are looking for your feedback, man. Get the chat going. Let's get the chat going. We got the chat for Facebook. We got the chat for Twitter. We will be able to look at your tweets. We'll be able to put that out in real time. And this is going to be one of our themes of the night. What are the biggest surprises in round one? Biggest surprises in round one. This is going to be something that we're looking out so far. And one of the surprises we can already see is the 49ers. We've heard for months. It was Mac Jones. Oh, we want Mac Jones. Trey Lance and Justin Fields. We don't know about them. We want Mac Jones. Well, Mac Jones is still in the dugout, and the 49ers come away with Trey Lance, the pick out of North Dakota State. And I'll tell you what, for everything that's being said about these small schools, North Dakota State still keep getting people into the mix. Keep doing their thing, bro. They still keep getting guys in the mix. We will also keep you abreast on what's going on in every situation. Right now, we'll give you the rundown of who's on the board, and who's come off the board. So we just had a pick just in. We got Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU. He's going to the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals are able to pick up Jamar Chase. Most people think he's the best guy on the board in terms of a wide receiver. Most people think that he's the number one choice between him and Devontae Smith. Jamar Chase is reunited with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. For all those Cincinnati Bengals fans, you know what it is, Ohio. You know how we give it up in Ohio, man. So all you AFC North fans, that's another thing to look at. And I'll tell you about the Bengals. Shout out to James Rapine down there covering the Bengals down in the Natty. When you look at it, the Cincinnati Bengals, in my opinion, Bengals are ripe to take over that mantle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are ripe to be taking over that mantle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Joe Burrow can come back from ACL surgery, which people are coming back faster than ever, if he can come back and he can still do that, you're going to have an opportunity to see what the Bengals can do. Because let me tell you this, the Browns played the Bengals twice last year. And it was not a cakewalk. It was not a walk in the park. by any stretch of the imagination, man. By any stretch of the imagination. So, Jamar Chase comes off the board. You see the first receiver off the board. Where will Jalen Waddle come off the board? Where does Devontae Smith come off the board? And we'll continue to, keep a track of that and give you guys the pick by pick update here on G Bush Live. We also want to say as well, thank you for everybody and all the supporters, man. Super Chat is available. Super Chat is available. So if you do, definitely want to get your questions in and get your questions read immediately, go ahead and submit your Super Chat if you're on YouTube. And you can also donate at www.gbush.live/tip as well. That's where you can find it. And then we're working our way up. We're going to work our way up to the draft. And then we're going to get your thoughts on the Browns' first round draft pick, because that's where we're moving to. That's where we're working our way up to. So we're looking to get we're looking to work our way up to the Browns' number 1 draft pick. There's been a lot of talk about the Browns moving up a little bit of talking about the Browns moving up, possibly getting into the range of getting a cornerback, possibly getting in the range of getting a linebacker. At this point, for me, not too many big crazy things have been said. Not too many crazy things have been done so far in the draft. But you know how the draft is. Anytime something moves around and moves and shakes, things will be done. Things get to be moving around, and it's just one of those things, man. And I definitely I'm looking for moves. And awesome, we got our first Super Chat of the day. Thank you so much, Rosie B, for the Super Chat. I do appreciate you. She didn't even have a question. She's just trying to show some love. I'll take it. I'll just take it. I do that, right? First Super Chat of the day. Shout out to Rosie B, man. If you guys are out there, we're gonna be taking you down memory lane, right? We're going to take you down memory lane, right? We're going to get you together. We'll get you ready, get you down memory lane. And we're also going to take you on a little roller coaster because, the Browns don't need nothing right now. But back in the day, oh, man, back in the day, remember back in the day when the Browns used to be just really, they needed these picks to hit. They needed them to hit at all cases, right? Right? All cases. They needed them to hit. I think we're gonna let's go to our first. Let's go to our first way back time machine. Let's get to the time machine and remember this date in 2007. Tell me if y'all remember this one.
And here's the news.
With the 22nd pick in the NFL, 2000 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Brady Quinn, quarterback, Notre Dame.
So Brady Quinn does go to the team coached by Romeo Crennel, who was the coordinator of New England on defense, but Charlie Weiss was the offensive coordinator, and they won Super Bowls. Sometimes stories take a long time to have a happy ending, but this truly became a bedtime story for Brady Quinn, but in the end, a pleasant one.
Phil Savage had to be shocked when Miami passed him. I think who would expect that he'd have the opportunity to do this? Give him credit for jumping up and getting into the first round and getting the quarterback that, in my mind, is a perception maker for the Cleveland Browns. Good job for everybody.
And it is his hometown team, so, as hurtful as this was for him, and trust me, it hurt his family. He's now got Joe Thomas, by the way, Wisconsin tackle, blocking him and protecting him whenever he gets up and playing for the Browns.
They'll move Kevin Schaefer over to right tackle, and all of a sudden that offensive line, Eric Stein back adding in free agency, all of a sudden that offensive line looks a heck of a lot better. They get Joe Thomas, Brady Quinn, Phil Savage, finally some good luck going the Browns' way. They've had terrible luck on the injury front with Gary Baxter, a veteran player, with Charles Bentley, the draft choices, Winslow and Edwards. Now they get some good luck on draft day when Miami passes on Brady Quinn and allows him to slide all the way down to pick number 22. They get the pick from Dallas ahead of Kansas City. What better than that for Phil Savage, Romeo Crennel, Lerner? Everybody's happy.
The state of Ohio would
It's everybody.
It'll be interesting as we watch Miami gain. Dan Marino falls all the way to him, and they make it. Now they pass on what maybe Brady Quinn the whole career will be looking at Miami, staring that down and pick number 9, saying, oh, you passed on Brady Quinn. Be interesting to see how that plays out.
But they also played their cards right because now they got a guy that's from the Midwest. You know, the coach has been together. They got receivers. They got a tight end. They got the golden boy. Everything just works wonderful for them.
It worked good for Cincinnati back in 1984 when Boomer Esiason fell in their lap, and it works great for the Cleveland Browns today. I mean, you're thinking about a guy at pick number 3, and you get him at pick number 22, all because of one team, the Miami Dolphins. Pretty amazing.
So a young man that wore the jersey at 4 years old now is going to wear it at 22 years old. It's a nice story.
And how about the Browns, who clearly they really were considering, do we take Brady Quinn? Do we take Joe Thomas? Do we take Adrian Peterson? And they end up with 2 of those 3 guys. That's pretty good day's work so far.
Well, we'll get the details of the trade. We don't have that one yet, but we know they got up and they got their man. And so now, and these are the 2 guys of what they've done. Joe Thomas and Brady Quinn, 2 guys play up in Big Ten. Obviously Notre Dame not in the Big Ten, but Big Ten country guys playing in the Big Ten. Joe Thomas, of course, is on a fishing trip right now on Lake Michigan. Maybe the boat sails right through everything through Detroit and on.
As you can see, wow. So you get an opportunity to
Lake Erie, you just go to Cleveland.
You get an opportunity to see this, man. And it just reminds you, it just goes to remind you, remember what we was going through. See, because there's a lot of teams out there right now. There's some teams right now that are really going to draft a quarterback. And drafting a quarterback is a thing, right? Drafting a quarterback, yeah, that counts for something. But you got to go back and always remember, some of these guys and most of these guys don't even hit. Some of these guys don't even hit. Some of them don't even make the roster. When you go back to 2007 and you look at Brady Quinn and how everyone talked about how well Brady Quinn was going to do in the NFL, turns out that Brady Quinn was not that type of guy at all. Not that type of dude at all. Let's get to the chat. Donovan Carroll says, listen, feel the Bengals made a good move. But yes, next move. Get protection. But they got Burrows, some great help with the 3rd pick. Totally agree with that. Also, man, Earl, my man Earl says, hey, waddle to the Dolphins. Let's check out and get back to you guys and give an update on what's going on right now. So the last 3 picks, if you want to look at it, if you're just tuning in, last 3 picks, you got Jamar Chase is with the receiver out of LSU. He's going to the Bengals. Then you got Jalen Waddle. Number 6 is going to the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Waddle is with the Dolphins. It looks like, they couldn't pass on him. He missed all of last year, most of last year. With the injury, but it looks like he's going to be on his way back, making amends. Right now, we got the Detroit Lions on the clock, and the Lions are a weird little situation here. These Lions, they make the Stafford trade. You get Jared Goff, and I guess they like him, but when you talk about Goff, the Rams made a decision very quickly and quietly that they could not do anything with Jared Goff. They made the deal, and just think about where the Rams were a couple years ago. Think about where the Rams were a couple years ago in the Super Bowl playing against the Patriots. All that is downhill. All that is downhill right now. And you look at there's no Todd Gurley. There's no more Goff. They've rolled the dice, and now they're going to see if Matt Stafford is able to do what he can do out there in LA. But when you look at it, we're looking for an opportunity. Looking for opportunity for the Lions to get a playmaker. Maybe they go offensive line here. Maybe they go defense here. But one of the things that you got to look at with this is I'm concerned about the fact that is Goff outside of Sean McVay's playbook a guy that you can count on to just make throws and do your thing. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can consistently do that. And I don't know if he can be a consistent dude that you're going to throw the ball downfield and do your thing. He's going to consistently throw the ball, 30, 40 times a game. I don't think he could be that guy. I think Detroit is in a full rebuild again. And it just seems like Detroit is where the Browns used to be, right? Detroit is where the Browns have been for years. And that's just a consistent, just every 3 years, we're just rebuilding with new guys, new names, or whatever the cases may be. That's something that I definitely feel Detroit has fallen prey to, just like the Cleveland Browns have. Let's get back to the comments. Let's see what we got going on. Jay John said, let's go. We need to trade up, G Bush. We need to trade up. Trading up, to me, I'm an aggressive type guy. I've been an advocate for trading up since the beginning of this draft. And the reason why I've been such a huge advocate on trading for individuals, such a huge advocate for trading up is the thought process that if I can get something to finish my team off, if I can get something to really finish my team off, I do it. I'm going to definitely go up and move up and go do that. I'm going to definitely go up and make sure that I can get a piece that can finish off, whether it's my defense, whether it's if I can finish off a pass rush, whether or not I could get an interior lineman, a pass rusher. One of the guys that I've been hearing a lot about, and I want to weigh in, and this was crazy because I heard this about a cornerback, and it's the guy Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. For me, when you talk about his ability, right? When you talk about with Jalen, when you talk about what he can, I'm gonna say Jalen Water. I'm over here looking at 2 threes at once, but when you look at it, I think when you're able to take a look at what Caleb Farley can do, to me, he has the best ball skills. To me, he's the most natural corner, right? To me, he's the most natural guy as far as playing the ball. And I like corners that play the football. I don't want guys to be running down the field with their back turned. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to get guys running down the field with their back turned and they're getting back shouldered. I like the guys that can play the football, and I think he's one of the guys that can do that. But his medical is just – I'm gonna tell you what. When it comes to injuries, I have a unique perspective about it, right? I have a unique perspective about it. When it comes to back injuries, I had a herniated disc in my back, L5-S1. And most times when you have those injuries like that, it isn't the nerve damage that you're talking about. It's just the simple fact that you have either a herniated disc that's impinging on a nerve somewhere, and a herniated disc can be devastating to a guy that needs to change directions. And the reason why, I figured out that I had a herniated disc, I didn't even know I had a herniated disc, is because I was playing basketball in the rec center one day, in between days for spring ball. And I noticed that I couldn't run. It felt like my leg, I had lost feeling in my leg, my lower leg. And now that I know what it feels like now, I had a syndrome called drop foot. And if anybody doesn't know what drop foot is, Thad might have had drop foot, which is it's basically a herniated disc that is impinging on a nerve that is really controlling either one of your legs or your movement or motor skills in your leg. And so what happens is you start to lose function in your lower body. You start to lose function in your foot, change the direction, you pivoting, all that good stuff. You start to lose that. And then slowly but surely, the nerve in my leg started to go numb and die. It was crazy. So, I ended up having surgery on that, my L5S1. And the reason why doctors are very scared about things like that in terms of back injuries, the reason people are scared about back injuries, he had to end up going back. Caleb Farley had to go back and get another procedure. And the reason you do that is because once a disc herniates, it's not really a disc. It's a sac full of like fluid. It's the disc in between the vertebrae. When that is ruptured, there's no getting that back. It's just going to continue to happen. It'll just continue to do that until you're going to have problems with it. And so when you have those things, I think people are really scared about that, and that's why doctors, and you have to get people in your medical to sign off on stuff like that, because if you draft a kid like this in the first round, and a guy like me who's a defensive lineman is noticeably feeling the effects of not being able to feel my foot, my leg change of direction. What do you think is going to happen to a cornerback? That's his whole game plan. That's his whole life. And you've already had those 2 surgeries and you haven't played in a year because you were out due to COVID. I think all those are big things that teams really need to take in consideration in terms of when you're looking at Caleb Farley. I would lean on the doctors. Some people are going to take him all the way off the board. Some people are going to just take him off the board. They're not going to be there. He's not going to be available to pick unless he gets somewhere crazy like second or third round. And unfortunately, you do see guys like that sometimes as well. Let's go back. Let's take a look and see and update your draft board so far. And we got some more picks that have come up. We have Sewell, the offensive tackle, the big offensive tackle from Oregon. He went number 7 overall. He's over with the Detroit Lions. They take him with the 7th overall pick. That's I don't like to say safe pick. Don't like to say safe pick, but it's something that I can see. I can see why they take him, because they need to keep Goff upright, and they need to do things to make sure that they can compensate for what they're doing in terms of him throwing the football, because Goff is not a guy you can just straight drop back. You got to play action. You got to scheme some things up with him. At number 8. South Carolina takes Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. He's going to go with the Panthers. At 8, we thought we might see some things moving around. Denver now is on the clock. And here's where things start to get interesting for people. I think things get a little interesting for people now. You got Sewell, you got Horn. You've seen already Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance come off in the first 3 picks. Now you ask yourself, okay, what are we doing now? Where exactly is Justin Fields coming off the board? You start to wonder, where during these picks do you get a guy like a Mac Jones? Where does he really come off the board? And you also have to take in consideration teams and trades looking to possibly look for taking a guy. And the huge news that breaks earlier today is, good gracious, the biggest news is the bombshell out of Green Bay. When you take a look at what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, good gracious, that's the biggest news. What teams are really looking to do that, and what teams may be in the mix to take him or trade? There's a list of teams that he has demands out for. We'll discuss those in a little bit. We'll also continue to take your reaction. We'll get your reaction to the Browns' first round pick. We'll get that coming up. 26. We'll be monitoring that. and also throughout the entirety of this draft, we'll be taking your questions, your concerns, your questions we'll put out there. What are the biggest surprises that you've seen so far in round one? For me, I haven't seen anything too crazy. Everything looks above board as far as who I thought might be going off the board at these positions, and we do see this. So when we come back, we will get to those. But I think it's time to take a look back down the history, down the memory lane of the Cleveland Browns drafts, and we'll do that and come right back. Do you remember this in 2012? I think you might.
So the Yankees, the Curious, and now the Cleveland Browns. Well, let's see what happens, but you know why they made this move. Because this could be once every now and then you get a guy like this.
With the third pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Trent Richardson, running back, Alabama.
So the Cleveland Browns, 4-12 a year ago, in a division where you got to figure out a way to move the ball against the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals, all of whom made the playoffs. The Browns had a woeful offense. Poor Colt McCoy, the Peyton Hillis, that's a story unto itself. They couldn't run it. They couldn't throw it. You're going to have bad weather, and this is a franchise that had the great Jim Brown. So why not go and get a running back who many feel is an Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson potential type, a unique running back at top? Those are big names. Do you think he's that good, Coach?
I really do. He's like a Marshawn Lynch with speed and elusiveness. The Cleveland Browns solved some major problems today. Richardson is good between the tackles. He's got a tremendous stiff arm, and he's an outstanding finisher. He set an Alabama record for all-purpose yardage, and that's saying something. Tremendous elusiveness, and every time you tackle him, it's a business decision. This weight room strength transfers to the football field. I don't know how many times he did the bench at the combine, though, but it looked the part. Trent Richardson, over 50 catches in the last 2 seasons. He's an outstanding kickoff returner, and I like what he does without the ball. He pass protects. He does a lot of things that Pro Bowl backs do. He's going to be great in that North Division to give the Browns a runner that they've lacked for a while.
That's the thing, John. How do you justify in this new NFL, today's NFL, taking a running back this high? You do because of all the things he brings to the table. Think about the last 3 Super Bowl champions. You got a 4th-round pick, a couple 6th-round picks, a 7th-round pick, an undrafted free agent at running back, leading them to Super Bowl victories. But this kid can do it all. He'll be on the field all the time. He'll block, he'll catch, and he doesn't fumble, Boom. 1 fumble, John, since 2009. That was against Ole Miss. That's it. Ball security for this kid, phenomenal.
Here's the bigger question, and we need time to get into it. Has the game changed that much in 10 years? I'm not talking 25 years. In 10 years, whereas at running back is, you don't need that as much as you used to. Or when you get a guy like this, look, Mike Holmgren, who's the president of this team, had Sean Alexander the year the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, from Alabama, by the way. But has the game changed in 2012 so much that running back is really overvalued at a number 3 pick overall, do you guys think?
Well, if you don't have a Trent Richardson, if you have a Trent Richardson, you're going to do what Trent Richardson can do, and that is keep you in normal down and distance situations. Not everybody has a back of this caliber. He dominated the SEC just like Cam Newton did last season.
John, you think about the teams that have won Super Bowls, and they had multiple backs that could get it done. You think about Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw. You think about when Reggie Bush was in New Orleans with Pierre Thomas, Green Bay with Ryan Grant, James Starks. This kid is one guy, can do the workload of 3. He won't come off.
Man, listen, I just put it in the chat, man. And you guys definitely, my question is to you, and I'll throw this out to the chat. I mean, really? I didn't expect, I really didn't expect Trent Richardson to be a bust. You know, there'll be a couple of people that you'll see on this list as we go back and revisit some of the Browns drafts throughout the, I say, last 10 years or so, 10, 12 years. I didn't expect Trent Richardson to be a bust at all. At all. I didn't see it. You know, we all watched him dominate. We all watched him play bully ball. We've all watched Trent Richardson, what he did in the SEC. And it was just crazy to me that when you look at the trajectory of what Trent Richardson was, he got 1,000 yards the first year. And then the second year they come back and it's just like, okay, what the heck happened? Like, you're trading Trent Richardson? This is ridiculous. And then we look back in hindsight and he just couldn't stick anywhere. Could not stick anywhere. And the reason that they couldn't stick, the reason he couldn't stick in terms of that was this. When you look at it, Trent Richardson always had an issue in the league with vision. I remember there were times where Trent Richardson used to get the rock and you would just say, bro, the hole is that way. Trent Richardson would get the rock and he couldn't see cutback lanes. He couldn't see wide open holes. He couldn't see any of that. He couldn't see any of that, man. Liddell Vasson says, I bought that damn jersey. Still have it. I just never wear it. You know, hey, there's a lot of Browns fans out there with a bunch of jerseys they can't use. You can't use that jersey for nothing, man. You got to send that. You know how many Browns jerseys I either see at Gabriel Brothers, the Salvation Army, Goodwill, wherever the case it may be, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? He just still baffles me because even when you watch it, when they had the leagues in the spring and they had different things like of those sort, remember this. When Trent Richardson was in the new AFL leagues and all these other leagues, when he was in those leagues, he still wasn't balling. I mean, you went to Alabama and you went the XFL, you still weren't balling, Trent Richardson. You were still running into people's legs. I got Quinn's number 10 hanging in the closet, man. Amen. Shout out to the 614, man. Olin Tangi, Dublin, Westerville. They got 100 Westervilles right now. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with me in Columbus. Shout out to my my roommate, Chris Foreman. He out there watching the draft. What up, C4? I know you watching the draft somewhere. But there's a lot of guys that we've had that for me, it just seems like, man, why did it not hit? Why didn't it hit? Before we get to the other thing, because I think a lot of people forgot this as well too. Before we get to something else, let's go ahead and get to an update. We'll update what's going on right now. Pick just came in at 9. Wow. At 9. You got Patrick Surtain II coming off the board at number 9 to Denver. Now, listen, this is very important. You're starting to see a run on cornerbacks. Horn, Surtain just went. You're starting to see the top guys on the board. So the guys that I mentioned, Caleb, Farley is one of the guys that I'm mentioning so tough and giving you so much background on is because I really feel that there's two tiers in terms of this draft. When you got your Surtains and your Horns, the next one is Newsome out of Northwestern. Once those guys start coming off the board, trust me, now you're looking around like if the team really needs a corner, are they getting and moving up to get one of those guys like Newsome? Also, one big surprise here. I'm kind of surprised at this. Have not seen one linebacker yet. No linebackers yet at all. So if you're the Browns, Owusu Koromoa, okay, you're still in play. Zaven Collins, definitely still in play. Micah Parsons, in play. Now, right now, we got the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock, and they just made a trade to get there. Philadelphia Eagles are at 10, so they moved up. Now they got that pick from Dallas, right? Got the pick from Dallas. They're on the clock. Let's see if that's a corner. Let's see if that's a corner they wanted, or let's see if that's a guy they want to get Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, they need some sort of playmaker over there in Philadelphia. Let's see if that's the pick that's coming up as well. We'll check back on that coming up here in a moment. Also, want to mention to you guys, man, I want to, definitely, we got one super chat in today, man. Really want to reach a goal of 20 super chats or donations. Hopefully we can do there. One down, 19 to go. Hopefully you guys can support, the G Bush Live, support, what we're doing so we can keep coming up with creative content and doing things special for you guys as well. Also, I will be announcing that I do have a new tier system that I'm putting in place for YouTube and Patreon for memberships. So we got some very exciting things, coming up, live events. We've been waiting for a long time to do some of this stuff. I'm a big person and proponent of if I can't deliver on certain things, you know me, I'll just scrap it and go back to the drawing board. So for me, I want to make sure that the people who do support the show are getting their money's worth, that are getting interactive things, that are getting exclusive things that I can deliver on, for merchandise to one-on-one interaction, to doing live events, to doing all that stuff. I'm looking to do that. So definitely look out. I will have that, and I will post the link in the description when you guys do see this video on YouTube, watching it in retrospectively speaking, as it's recorded and on Facebook as well. So let's go back to the drawing board a little bit. Remember, the Cleveland Browns have always had multiple picks. They've always, while they were trying to rebuild, they've always had multiple picks. Let's go ahead and see during those multiple picks, which one of these guys really just you thought Trent Richardson was the bust? Oh no. How many of you guys remember this dude?
This is one of the most historic franchises in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns.
No doubt about
and
it.
it's a first-round pick.
No question. I mean, I think, I'm blessed. I mean, I really am. I think, it's, shoot.
Were you confident coming into tonight, or were you hopeful about tonight?
Confident. I really was. I didn't know, but I was confident. I was out there waiting, and once I saw 20, I was like, okay, I think this could be the time, and it was. That entire staff, when I went up to Cleveland for my official, and you never know how it's going to work out, and everybody's asking me, and they think I'm lying when I tell them I don't have a clue. But this is.
Man, how many of you remember the Trent Richardson, Brandon Whedon first round joints? See, it's crazy because the Browns got back on the clock, first round picks, right? And so if you look at it, they've done this and had this a lot of time. They've had this a bunch of times. If you go back and you look at the 2007 draft, right? You had Brady Quinn, Joe Thomas. One worked out actually a whole lot. He worked out very well in terms of Joe Thomas being the first ballot Hall of Famer. But Brady Quinn, not so much. Was always in a quarterback controversy with Derek Anderson, never quite got what he wanted to do, never quite really put anything together. The offense, I never really understood what the Browns were trying to run at that time anyway. And he couldn't stay healthy during pivotal times where he could have taken the reins from Derek Anderson and continued to grow and actually take the mantle. In this draft, when we're going to 2012, you have to look. We get Trent Richardson with the third pick. We move up to get Trent Richardson. But then we have Brandon Whedon at the end of that round. and they used the 22nd overall pick on Brandon Wheaton. Now, the crazy thing about it is when you watch that, Brandon Wheaton is a grown man right there. Brandon Wheaton is like a real estate agent. That dude is definitely a chaperone on camping trips for like the Boy Scouts of America. Like this guy is literally like 30 in that picture. So I'm like, man, this dude, man, he got his regular life going. This dude is adulting. He out here being an adult, man. He out there with a mortgage already, married, all kind of different things. I'm like, man, this dude is established, bro. You should be. You like 31, bro. So when you look at that, that one ended to me worse than worse to me in terms of what that meant for the quarterback position, because Derek Anderson was already Brandon Wheaton was already past his prime. He was already doing other stuff. He was already playing baseball. He had done all these different things. And I just thought the Browns were grasping at straws. The only year I can remember with Brandon Wheaton is that year when Josh Gordon was just dominant. Nobody couldn't do nothing with him. And Josh Gordon had like 1,700 yards. And like they had a mix between Brandon Wheaton and Jason Campbell and a couple other guys in that mix. So that was another one. So we've worked 2007 and 2012. And so you can actually see that, man, the Browns have had a track record of swinging and missing on multiple first round picks. And it gets worse. At least Trent Richardson had a year he had 1,000 yards almost. And he had, some good receiving totals. But when you watch the next couple of these individuals, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. Let's get back. Let's reset things, man. I want to make sure everybody knows. Listen, if you are watching right now, make sure you share and like. Make sure you spread this as much. It helps the channel grow. It helps us do our thing. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is really, really push the envelope on content, really push an envelope on, people who are in the mainstream. For me, I believe that, yes, there's a certain place where you establish journalisms and establish people go and set up different platforms, and that's part of the game. But for me, I really do believe that there's a large contingency of very talented people out there that just haven't been heard. I mentioned, and if you haven't watched my blogs, the X's and O's of Regular Joes, make sure you guys take time to go look at that, man. Because for me, I'm out here trying to highlight, the everyday people. I'm trying to highlight the people that may not have gotten an opportunity yet, or may not really know, hey, how do I get on the radio? How'd you do it? So, I do things with my platform to try to be creative. Not only to say, I just want to keep building and being creative, but it also gives me an opportunity to stand by the premise of reaching back, always paying it forward, always doing those things, man. So by you supporting the channel, you are helping me support other people, because I'm able to create content. I'm able to create and I'm able to do certain things to help other individuals to shed light on the talented individuals in Cleveland, around the country. So let's keep it moving, man. Also in the chat, if you guys, this is one of the running themes. This is the place you want to keep it locked. If you want that instant, if you want the real and the instant reaction to what the Browns are going to do here in a couple minutes, keep it locked, man. This is a place you're going to be able to do that, man. First reaction here, G Bush Live. And we'll do that coming up. In the chat, what are your biggest surprises of the first round? So let's get into the comments a little bit. And this is a crazy one. My man, Todd Stein. What's that, Stein? Todd Stein says, field is dropping like a rock. Man, this is crazy. This is crazy. Watch out for the New England Patriots wherever they are in this draft. Watch out for the New England Patriots wherever they are. Let's go back and recap some of the stuff that we got going on right now. Number 10, this was an easy one. We've now had two individuals who are now basically just really reunited with their college teammate. Devontae Smith goes number 10 overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. So Devontae Smith is reunited with Jalen Hurts. We've had Joe Burrow be reunited with Jamar Chase. And so now we have a nice consistent flow of things. You finally see the last elite receiver, in my opinion, come off the board at 10 with Philadelphia. You've already seen Chase. You see Waddle go the next pick right after him. Now you see Devontae Smith at 10 with the Eagles. I think it's one of the craziest things in the world is that you now see 3 receivers in the top 10. And I don't know if offhand, basically by looking at the statistics, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw 3 top 10 receivers go. And that just goes to show you how great of a receiver class this was. And it also goes to show you just how, in depth the passing game has gotten over the last, I would say, 20 years. And the game has gotten that way basically because of high school spread offenses, right? Receivers, more than any other position, have benefited through 7-on-7 from the elite 11 camps to always doing 7-on-7 in the South. These guys come into college ready to go. They're advanced. They understand what they need to do. They're definitely basically guys that come in ready to be polished. So they're ahead of the learning curve. So then when you get to college, these guys they understand route trees, route combinations. They know how to get off press man coverage. They know how to use their hands. They know how to vary their releases. Guys like Devontae Adams, if you don't know the footwork and the precise measures that go into being a dominant receiver, just go watch Devontae Adams for the Green Bay Packers. Watch his footwork. Watch his hesitation off the line. He's a basketball player. He's always moving and shaking. And I've never seen a guy get off release coverage as well as he does. And it's just remarkable. But all these guys, from Devontae Smith to Jalen Waddle to Jamar Chase, those guys come in ready to go off top. And they're polished and ready to go. So, we'll see how this translates to what they're going to do with Jalen Hurts. But I'm already just say this right now. Jalen Hurts, just like any other quarterback, put him in the tiering system as a Drew Lock. I think he's in that same level as a Carson Wentz. That's why they ended up getting rid of Carson Wentz. Teddy Bridgewater. Those guys, Taysom Hill, those guys, when they get their opportunity, they better kill it. Because if they don't get they don't do it, they're in trouble. Oh, yeah. Okay. So here we go. This is in. At pick number 11, the Chicago Bears finally take Justin Fields. He comes off the board at number 11. And this is the first thing that I'm seeing that definitely means something as far as the shakeup is concerned. Chrizzo 10, thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you so much for supporting G Bush Live. I really appreciate you. And now that brings us to 18. We 18 down. We had 18 more to go for this goal. I thank you so much for shouting at me out and definitely helping. And we 18 shy. Let's keep it moving. I think we're gonna pick up a little speed here as when the Browns get a little closer on the clock, man. B Skrill says, "Hey, man, let's get to that." B Skrill says, "Congratulations, Justin, finally coming off the board." And my hat goes out to Justin Fields. And let me just give you this. I just think this draft process for Justin Fields was really, really unfair in certain ways. And I know it's just part of the scrutiny. It's part of, the scrutiny of that comes along with being in the NFL draft. It's part of just that great audition. You're just, to be a quarterback takes an elite amount of mental toughness, physical skills, and leadership traits. That's just why the job is so hard to master and be great at, because it's not just physical. It's just not mental. It's just not basically what you say and how good of a locker room guy you are. You have to have all three of those. And so for me, Justin Fields, I just think got a really bad deal. And some of the narratives that people were basically going at him with, some of those narratives, I just think they weren't. I just don't think they were just. And I just don't think that people sometimes consider what they're saying before they do it. Sometimes it almost comes off as being a little bit underprepared when it comes to evaluating talent. And so, when people say, well, is he a hard worker? It's like, you do realize that the Big Ten season was canceled, right? The Big Ten season was canceled. And they had already completed it. The chancellors and the presidents had already said, nope, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do that. And the only person that really helped and really continued to push forward was Justin Fields. He was the only guy to do those things. So for me, it's always been kind of, how do I say? It's always been kind of a lazy opinion when you don't look at the facts in the context of anything, because I don't know what football player who is automatically going to be a top 10 pick, basically from the year prior, who puts himself out there and puts himself at risk with COVID, then continues to keep fighting and taking it a step further to a point where it gained steam. And then there was a season that was able to be had in terms of the Big Ten season. And if you're a guy that's the catalyst for that, I just don't understand where the thought process is. Are you a hard worker? Some of those things people are continually to attribute. I heard the same thing about Kyler Murray. I keep hearing the same thing about, African-American quarterbacks when, those same things could be said for a lot of different people. And I just don't think it was warranted in that case. We look at it right now. Dallas is on the clock at 12. This is going to be a pick from San Francisco through Miami and Philadelphia. Basically, long story short, is they got the pick from San Francisco, and then San Francisco had Miami and Philadelphia. Actually, that's where they got the pick. So number 12, they're on the clock, and we'll see what they do at with Dallas. Dak Prescott, big time deal. I think he's the third highest paid quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and I think Dak Prescott's deal comes in a little after theirs. It might be a little close. He might be a little higher than Deshaun Watson. Not sure, but they're very close. So you got receivers in Dallas. You got receivers. Shout out to my man Jay Tuck out there. Definitely one of those guys, man, who is a Cowboys guy, a Cowboys fan. And I think they got receivers. They have Zeke Elliott, who I just don't think, man, I don't want to say he fell off, but I mean, it's kind of close a little bit. Like, he hasn't had those breakout years when he had one of the best offensive lines in the game, with Tyron Smith and, just all of those guys that were just monsters up front. He hasn't looked the same since those guys started being injured and they were doing, rotating people in and out. So at this pick, definitely one of the things that you got to take in consideration that you think it might be is definitely a defensive player. even just watching the Browns game, from my perspective in watching them in that game last year in Dallas, I just remember just anybody who had was wearing brown and orange could do anything they wanted to on the ground, whether it's you let Odell Beckham Jr. just take it to the crib on a reverse. You let we know what Kareem Hunt and Chubbs and Ernest Johnson did to you. But if you're looking at it, it should be a defensive player. And as the pick comes down, Micah Parsons is the number 12 pick in the 2021 NFL draft. As I said before the pick came out, this is definitely a pick for a defensive player. A couple years ago, Jalen Smith was a guy that they took at linebacker, and now you get another linebacker, Micah Parsons, and this guy fits the mold of exactly what Jerry Jones likes. He's enamored with speed, physical ability, playmaking ability, splash plays. Everything is bigger in Dallas. Well, this is a pick that good and well Jerry Jones definitely co-signed, and it's definitely got a Dallas vibe to it all over it. I'm a little higher on Michael Parsons than some of the other individuals. I'm a little more bullish on him because I've seen what type of athleticism and I've seen what type of plays he can make. I don't hold anything against the people who are sitting out. I've been hearing kind of this narrative that's been popping up lately as the draft was drawing nearer, that GMs were taking people off the board or frowning upon, looking at players who opted out due to COVID. To me, that's ridiculous. GMs are worried about, can they get the best value at a certain position wherever they're picking. And if you got a guy slated as a person who is dominant and you like him and he fits your position and he's on your board, you just take him. That's just usually the way it goes. Let's get back to it. Let's get to, we'll take your comments here in a second. But before we do that, we've taken a look at 2007 draft, 2012 draft. Let's move to 2013 and see this former name. How did you feel about this pick back in the day? And then we'll get back to that, and then we'll definitely take your comments as well and update the draft board when we get back.
This is one of the most historic franchises in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns.
No doubt about
and
it.
it's a first-round pick.
No question.
No Brandon Wheaton. No Brandon Wheaton. We're not picking you again. That's not what we were looking for. We got to go to another guy. Here we go.
With the sixth pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Barkevious Mingo, defensive end, LSU.
Yep. Now, I just got to say, I wish we were still doing NFL primetime because Ziggy Ansah and Barkevious Mingo, I mean, I waited my whole career to announce these guys.
Been studying LSU hard for the last few years. Patrick Peterson, Claiborne. The one thing about Mingo is number 49 always gets your attention. This kid can come off the edge as well as anybody in the draft. He's a left defensive end. I think he's going to convert to an outside linebacker in this 3-4 defense. You have Paul Kruger on one side and Mingo on the other side, and Barkevious Mingo can come and get you. He can convert speed to power. I've seen him line up in multiple positions. He's been on a great defense for 3 years. 37-inch vertical, has speed to close, plays with a motor. I love this pick.
Yeah, I look at it, John. I think where he was 2 years ago with those 8 sacks, and they go into this year, boy, he's going to dominate. I didn't think he did. His sack total dropped to 4.5. He needs pass rush moves, John, in order to basically become that great player. His athletic ability tells you he can be. 37 vertical. He's 6'4", 241 pounds. He hasn't dropped into coverage like Deion Jordan has. You see pass rush ability. You see flashes. He's got tremendous quickness to the ball, but pass rush moves he's got to develop in order to become a heck of a player in the NFL.
Develop him. I tell you, if you want to run that read option, you need a guy like Mingo to chase down these read option quarterbacks. We're going to change his name to Bingo, Kuiper.
Well, let me say this.
Before you can say bingo, he's got your quarterback.
Cleveland Browns went out and got Paul Kruger from the Baltimore Ravens. Jabal Shear, the former second-round pick out of Pitt, you thought could maybe make that conversion from defensive end to outside linebacker. Now you throw another outside linebacker into the mix, somebody else who can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, man. Jeffrey Jones, man. Need that lineup Razor style. Barbershop G Bush, big fan. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate you, my G. Definitely appreciate you showing the support. Everybody, please, when you come in, please like, share. Definitely helps it with the algorithm. Definitely helps this video get seen for other individuals, and definitely share this and like this on whatever platform you're on. Twitter, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, or if you're on Twitch, make sure you guys definitely go ahead and share that. And I greatly appreciate it. My man, DJ Who That says, Brady Quinn, terrible pick. I mean, at the time, I think everybody, they fleeced us a little bit. He was hanging out backstage. He was doing his thing. We seen him with that football jersey on. We seen him. He's a hometown dude from Columbus. He had that Brown jersey, said he was a Browns fan. And I just think back in the day, man, just think about how many people we got fleeced by in terms of picking guys who maybe fit a narrative, but naturally speaking, didn't fit what they needed on the field. And another guy who is just, man, this dude, Barkevius Mingo, a.k.a. Kiki. Now, listen, I'm not calling no other grown man Kiki. I don't even sing Drake's song. Kiki, oh, you bad for me? No. I'm not. Oh, you're riding. No, I'm not. I'm not doing none of the above. I am not about to call another grown man Kiki. And when you look at it, when you go look at what he brought to the table, he didn't give you any of that. And I think Mel Kiper said it best there. Mel Kiper, he really basically told John Gruden and foreshadowed John Gruden making the same mistake with another dude. So when you look at him, Kiper says, hey, man, you thought he was going to dominate. He had those 8 sacks, and he has the raw physical ability, but his sack totals got cut in half. Sack totals cut in half. What exactly is he going to do in the league if he doesn't have moves? He doesn't have any moves, right? He doesn't have any moves. And then you go look and you go and look and see what John Gruden did a couple years ago and drafted Cleveland Farrell at defensive end for Clemson. I mean, he's exactly the dude. He's exactly the guy that everybody was saying, hey, bro, you might want to get a pass rush move. And obviously, John Gruden was not paying attention to Mel Kiper when he said, and so astutely put, I just didn't see it. And the fact that this was so disappointing was this. The Browns took him at 6. At 6. Guess what? They turned that in and was done. They was finished for the night. That was it. I think they had like 2 or 3 picks that draft. And that was what they had. And I was just like, oh my goodness, man, this is not going to work in the least. In the least. We got a couple more coming up too. I know you're anticipating, right? There's a lot of people that we could be going to in terms of these Brown drafts. And that's why it's so cool and entertaining, for the simple fact that we just don't have to, go through that same sort of thing. Right now, we're not looking for splash players. We're not looking for quarterbacks or, offensive linemen. We did that last year in terms of getting Jedrick Wills. No offensive lineman. We don't have to really get a defensive lineman. We don't have to. But if you got a guy on the board that you feel is one of the dudes that you can invest in, by all means, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Let's get back and give you the update on what's going on right now. We look and we have the Chargers at 13. Go and get offensive tackle. Slater from Northwestern. So, they already have Justin Herbert. They have, a young quarterback. This is one of those cliche drafts where everybody says you got a young quarterback. The first thing you got to do is draft the tackle. That's one of the cliche moves that we're seeing right here. So Slater at offensive tackle is there as well. And you're looking at the Minnesota Vikings on the clock right now. Minnesota hit a home run last year after kind of striking out on Laquan Treadwell. Hit a home run in terms of going to get Justin Jefferson. And I thought letting Stephon Diggs go was going to be an issue, because you see what Stephon Diggs was doing this year in Buffalo. Him and Josh Allen was just on point. So when I heard that they were getting rid of him and kind of breaking up that tandem, of receivers out there with the Vikings, I thought, man, you had Thielen, you got a guy like Stephon Diggs, and you also have an elite running back. So, you got Kirk Cousins. Do you really need to do that? But Justin Jefferson turned out to be pretty much probably the best receiver in terms of production, easy as a rookie. And so they were able to cover up from that. And it looks like it might be a situation where, they can go in another direction and look to get the defense better or go offensive line help at 14. Also, let's get to some of your comments as well. My man, Tap King says, Cowboys selected Micah Parsons. Definitely. That got Cowboys written all over it. That's definitely a Cowboys joint. You could tell right now what's going on with that. So that's definitely something that I think that is really in terms of what they're going to do out there. I think Micah Parsons is a guy who was always destined to go right there to the Cowboys, because they love playmakers. Cody Anderson says, Wheaton, Coleman, list goes on and on. You ain't even seen the rest of the league list. You ain't even seen it yet. But the who's who and terrible cats is alive and well. The who's who is terrible. Wait till you see some of this other stuff. And the funniest part about some of these tapes and films is this: when you look at what they're saying to them, and when you look at exactly how they're breaking them down, you got the advantage of having hindsight be 20/20. And just remember how praiseworthy these people are. Just remind that. Be reminded of that. Just be reminded of that. Let's get back to it a little bit. Let me update update you now. Minnesota has traded a pick 14 to the Jets. So the Jets have jumped up. They have Zach Wilson. Now they get the pick from Minnesota. We don't know what that's going to entail. We'll probably learn about the trade after the draft. But when you look at it, that pick right there looks like they may be able to get a playmaker right now in terms of somebody for Zach Wilson, or they may go offensive line with this pick with the woes that they had as far as keeping quarterbacks together and getting some help. Let's keep it moving and go to
The Minnesota Vikings have traded the 8th pick to the Cleveland Browns. With the 8th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Justin Gilbert, defensive back, Oklahoma State.
The first defensive back of the draft goes, while Manziel still sits in the green room. Justin Gilbert was the apple of the eye of Mike Peyton and Ray Farmer and crew in Cleveland. Your thoughts, Mike Mayock?
Understand that Mike Peyton is a former defensive coordinator. Mike Peyton is used to having a shutdown corner. I actually thought the kid was going to Minnesota and Mike Zimmer, but in the same spot, Cleveland comes up and get him. And Rich, when you draw it up, when you draw a corner up, he's 6 feet, 202 pounds, 33-inch arms. He ran 4.37 at the combine. He returned 6 kickoffs for touchdowns. He is the prototype corner in today's NFL.
And you throw him back there in the same secondary as Joe Hayden.
Exactly. And that's what he's talking about.
And going to battle in the AFC North with Gilbert and Hayden and the rest of the very young defensive crew that's getting better and better every year, Mike.
Yeah, I like this guy. Two-time All-American. He's long. We just saw the guy getting drafted in front of him, Mike Evans, the tall receivers. Well, this guy plays tall. We see Richard Sherman play with some length and some coverability like this guy. But he's strong, Mike. 20 on the bench. Not only was his 40 time the fastest in the defensive backs, but his bench press. This guy's strong, and he's tall, and he can scoot. And let's not forget about that return ability.
And it's just, I believe that's a Punters Are People Too t-shirt that's down there. Oh, yeah. In the Cleveland Browns party where they're soaking this thing in. Mike, tell them more about that.
Watch this kid's movement skills. He's long at 6 feet. He's going to run the route for Marquise Lee. He's going to undercut it, and when he gets a ball in his hands, he's gone. Tremendous ball skills. He can play press. He can play off. Here he is, little bail technique. Watch him run the route for the receiver. He's going to get hip to hip, wall him off, and catch the football. That is rare ball skills for a defensive back. And finally, watch him as he follows his blockers right here, right behind the blocker. Now it's gone. 4.37. Kickers that are people too can't tackle.
Nicely put.
And he finishes the run. He is a special player, Marshall.
Some people aren't tacklers. What can I tell you? Some people aren't tacklers.
Yeah. This is easy nomination. Easily the nomination for one of the worst picks of all time is Justin Gilbert. I mean, when you look at basically what he did in college, his tape was crazy. I mean, you look at his tape and you look what everybody's saying. They're saying he got ball skills. They're saying that he got kickoff ability. They're saying that he's a guy that has route awareness in terms of what the receivers are running. He has explosive speed. You know, he had all of these traits that people were loving. And when he got to Cleveland, it was literally one of the biggest disappointments I've ever seen. I remember talking to Daryl Ryder, who's the beat reporter on 92.3 The Fan, and I was interviewing him on, I'm sure, The Barbershop. And basically, at the time, I remember being alarmed that, in his camps, it was like during training camp, he couldn't get on the field at all. Like, it wasn't even like he was getting nickel love. It wasn't even like he was just like, the third or fourth corner. None of that. Like, he wasn't nowhere on the depth chart. Then it was like they put him back at kickoff, and he looked like you talk about Trent Richardson vision. Boy, this man's vision is crazy. He used to just run into stacks of people. And I'm just like, man, like I was looking for it. Like maybe he's a dude who, I don't know, maybe he doesn't practice good, or maybe he's hurt, or I was thinking of every single reasoning excuse or trying to find something in his game that warranted an 8 pick. I was looking for everything, like high, low, medium. I was just looking for it. And bro, it's not nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be found at all in terms of him being an 8th pick. To me, him getting cut by the Browns, getting 1 or 2 tryouts for the Steelers, or being on the practice squad, and he's out of the league forever. That tells you all you need to know. If a player gets cut and he's a young guy and he gets cut by the team that drafts him, and then nobody else picks him up and you retire, that means there's something to the problem. Definitely a problem. It's a very big issue. So now, wow. So we get to a point now where we got New England on the clock. And I think that by all intents and purposes, this might be Mac Jones. This might be a Mac Jones pick right here, 15 with New England. If you take it back and you go back a pick, the pick is in for the Jets. The Jets took at 14 Vera Tucker, who's a guard from USC. And this is probably the first time that I'm kind of upset, or not even say upset. I mean, I'm not a Jets fan or anything, but this is the first time that I'm sitting here looking and second guessing a move. You got Zach Wilson. You drafted Mekhi Becton last year, tackle, but you don't have one skill player that people even care about. There's nobody, there's no one with the Jets that anybody in the league fears. Anybody. They don't have running backs. They have no elite tight ends. And their receiving core might be the worst in the league. Their receiving core might be the worst receiving core in the league. So you telling me you got rid of Sam Darnold, right? Because you didn't think he was the guy. You're on record saying, I don't think he's the dude. But then you still didn't quite give him an opportunity to have a fair shake because of the simple fact that you didn't have anybody to talk about. There was no receivers of any sort. There was any playmakers of any sort. No top-notch skill position guys. And so you end up trading Sam Darnold. You say, well, let's get a new quarterback. And did you learn from your mistake? You drafted Mekhi Becton when you took Sam Darnold. And do you still end up getting rid of Sam Darnold because you figure it wasn't enough to show what he had, or you didn't think he could do it, but you still didn't give him no weapons? You come right back with Zach Wilson and do the same thing. But even worse, you take a guard in the first round. Like taking a guard in the first round, if you're gonna take a guard in the first round, bro, this dude better be Larry Allen or something. If you take a guard in the first round, you better be Steve Hutchinson. You better be one of the greatest guards to ever touch a football. You better be a road grader And if you put hands on somebody, they passing out. But a guard? When you got all these other guys on the board, you still got Rashad Bateman you could have took. You could have took different receivers out there. Marshall's available for LSU. Like, what are you doing? You drafted a guard. I don't know, man. I don't get it. Maybe it's just me. Man. As always, get your questions in right now. You can get your questions in, or you could save them. Save them for the Browns. You know, if you want to get your comments felt, you want to get your comments heard, you want to save it, definitely you can use the super chat, and we can definitely get you to the front of the line, get your stuff heard, and we can get that immediate reaction as well. Also, keep in mind that when the Browns pick, you can get instant reaction by checking out G Bush Live. Make sure you guys do that. Jump on in. You be the first in the barbershop, first to get that lineup over here and talk about your instant reaction. The Browns' first round pick. We're picking 26. 26 is kind of like uncharted territory. It's kind of a situation where it's just like, all right, we ain't used to doing 26, right? We ain't used to doing that. So it's a situation where we got to stay pat, still do our thing, and lay in the weeds a little bit. Micah Parsons is off the board, linebacker from Notre Dame, still available. Zaven Collins from Tulsa, still available. There is guys like Caleb Farley who has the medical. Newsom still available. So there's some guys, some intriguing names out there that really can be had. And so I'm interested in seeing exactly what that case may be. Let's go ahead and upgrade this. And as always said, as my crystal ball is always correct, I've just been picking along and calling them out. So at 15, of course, the New England Patriots go and take Mac Jones. Just foreshadowed that a little bit before. And this was obvious a place where, he was going to be able to go. And the reason that he went there and the reason that they got that off is because it's obvious. You got Nick Saban. He has that relationship with Belichick. Belichick begrudgingly brought back Cam Newton. And Stidham wasn't the answer. We've been knew that. And so when you look at all of those people that they went out and got in free agency, and I think the Patriots for the first time spent money in free agency more than at any other period in time under Belichick. As a matter of fact, when you see it, this should have signaled the fact that they was going to take a quarterback regardless. Because what you saw was an opportunity for them to address the quarterback position. They signed Cam Newton to another extension. Now you got him. You also, got some, tight ends, and you've upgraded your offense. And so now you can definitely take a look at it and say, all right, well, now we're poised to go get a quarterback that we can develop and use him as a quarterback in the future. And I'll get that Jimmy Garoppolo guy back. So guess what? This was an easy pick. And not at all, surprised Mac Jones goes to New England there at that pick. So now the question is, before the draft, there was a lot of whispers about in terms of, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo. They got Trey Lance out there. Jimmy Garoppolo is fully a guy who is on the move. Jimmy Garoppolo will not be playing there. He will not be playing there next year. And there was already reports out that they were negotiating, the Patriots were negotiating a contract, an extension with Jimmy Garoppolo, because it was the fact that the 49ers were going to take a quarterback, whether it was Trey, Lance, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it was Mac Jones. It was already a foregone conclusion they were going to take a quarterback. So now, where does the other shoe fall? Where does other shoe fall with this whole Garoppolo thing? Do they have a suitor somewhere else? Or is Jimmy G a guy that's going to have to come into camp and just compete with the rookie? We'll see how it works. And I was not surprised by that as well. Don't forget, we got 18 down or 2 down, 18 to go. Goal for this chat is to, definitely, get, 20 super chats or donations. If you can help me reach that goal, it would be awesome, because it helps me continue to be able to deliver thought-provoking content, high quality content, and to do it in a way that is fan-centric, angle towards, communicating and doing things to communicate with the regular fan out there, and not just being media to media. So definitely support that if you can. You can support and you can donate at www.gbushllive.live /tip. You can do that as well. Or you can also do super chats available on YouTube as well. Let's get back to some of the drafts in the past. We've seen some of the guys that have been on that list. We've seen the who's who of Browns bust so far. So we just had the opportunity to see Justin Gilbert, right? And I think Justin Gilbert, to me, is probably the worst person on this list. However, people forget that the bombshell in that draft was not Justin Gilbert. It was this guy.
Maybe Manziel doesn't want to go to Cleveland. I remember Brady Quinn. He slipped. Remember? Everybody thought Brady Quinn was going in the top 5. He slipped and he went all the way to Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't worked out very well for a lot of quarterbacks. So maybe Manziel's crossing his fingers, hoping somebody else.
With the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M.
This is better than the movie Draft Day. I'm telling you. I like the fact Cleveland came back up and got the young quarterback. This kid needs a little time. He is not a finished product. Johnny Manziel has 2 years of football left at Texas A&M. He came out early. But this is a legitimate dual threat. I hope he likes the cold weather. He has humongous hands for a 6-footer, and he's going to need him throwing the ball next to Lake Erie. But this will really get the crowd base excited in Strongsville.
Well, let's go to Morton Adam on the trade that we were waiting for all night. Fellas?
Boomer, I sat across from Browns owner Jimmy Haslam at dinner at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, and he told me and looked me in the eye and said, Johnny Manziel's the most exciting football player he's ever seen. Now, we heard that from David Cutcliffe, too, of Duke, and as John Gruden just said, energizing the fan base. Well, we're hearing it right here in the music hall. But he does have the hand size to play in the cold weather, especially when you play in Cleveland in that weather. And yes, they like Brian Hoyer, so they can work him in there.
And this really is a Jimmy Haslam pick because Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, was his biggest champion. And if you don't think things are turning around in Cleveland, check out this. They have double 3rd-round picks, double 4th-round picks. They have cash, and they have 2 number 1s next year as well to go along with Johnny Football and Justin Gilbert. So Cleveland went through a brutal offseason, but in the end, boom, it comes out.
Yeah. That goes down as one of the most recognizable busts of all time. And I'm just going to chat that out. This is probably one of the greatest busts of all time. Not because, it was lack of physical tools, right? The crazy part about it is, even when it came to the physical tools, Johnny Manziel was so dysfunctional and so just out of control that he couldn't even give himself a chance to even figure out if he was good or not. Like he didn't even give himself a chance. Like if LeBron James is the poster child for having a level of hype and then him living up to that level of hype, whether it be how he handles himself, how many rings he's gotten, whether his skill set is as good as people hyped him up to come out of college, whether it's, what his all-time place in history or the iconic things as well. I think this is a situation for me. Johnny Manziel is the exact opposite end of the spectrum, and he fulfilled every worst nightmare that people had. Every worst nightmare that people had. My goodness. I mean, the dude was in the club. The dude did all kinds. I mean, he was just in the club for no reason. He still admits to it today, and he's still not apologetic for it. My man, William Wise, man. Appreciate it, my G. Appreciate the super chat. Worst in the history of pro sports. That is not debatable. I mean, Johnny Manziel did everything possible to do what he could to sabotage his own life. And the crazy thing about it, William, the crazy part about this is he was doing it at a level that almost seemed whimsical. Like, if you think about it, who goes to a casino with a fake beard and mustache and a trucker hat, just like in disguise? Like, he's in disguise. Like, this stuff comes out of movies, man. Like him just going to party and kicking it and just like, and he still do it. And it's just crazy how much of a crazy, over the top, ridiculous bust this dude was, because not only was, we didn't know whether he could play or not, he just didn't have the mental or emotional ability to actually focus on anything but hanging out. Like, he's a professional dude that hangs out. He does it for a living. Like, it's crazy. So for me, this is probably the worst draft in the history of the Cleveland Browns organization, because you got Justin Gilbert at 8, and then you went and got Johnny Manziel. Do you remember, or do you understand that these people are first-round picks and they gave you nothing? You didn't get anything for them. Nothing. It's like we kept these picks and we held them on tight, and we coveted these first-round picks. Do you understand how crazy it is that Johnny Football and Justin Gilbert were in the same freaking draft class in the first round? That, I mean, it don't get no worse to that. It doesn't get any worse than that. My goodness, it's crazy. Let's go ahead and give it a update right quickly. And as always, this is a thing. Go ahead and put this in the chat. Chat question of the day: what are the biggest surprises in round one? I was a little surprised about the Jets taking a guard after they take a quarterback. I think that they needed some weapons, and I think a guard is kind of difficult to justify. Maybe if it was a tackle, but you got rid of Sam Darnold because he was, not performing or not putting up numbers or not moving the team. So why would you then go back to the well and draft another lineman and not give your new quarterback any sort of targets or weapons? That, to me, right now is the biggest surprise in round one. What do you say? Please go ahead and get that in the chat. We'll take your questions there as well. And don't forget, we will be reacting very closely. Folks, we moving up 10:30 right now. 36 people watching. I appreciate you, man. That's a blessing, man. Right now, y'all could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Word to Jay-Z, man. You could be watching this on YouTube. You could be watching it on regular TV. You could be doing stuff on your phone, but a big salute to those individuals that support me enough to be watching this and let me narrate what's going on and bringing this draft home. A pivotal draft for the Cleveland Browns that is pretty much a prelude to exactly how we want to finish off this roster and what we can look forward to, especially being Super Bowl contenders. Super Bowl, let that sink it in. Let that go ahead and marinate for a little bit. Let's get back and recap some of the things right here. You look at it. Well, here you go. I guess the Oakland Raiders, a few picks in. We got the Oakland Raiders, or actually the Las Vegas Raiders. They take offensive tackle Leatherwood out of Alabama. For me, that seems like a Gruden pick. Gruden he's all over the place when it comes to picking like certain positions. I don't know if that makes them better. I do know one thing. One of the teams that Aaron Rodgers is looking to migrate to after he dropped that bombshell news to say, hey, you know what? Packers, I'm not going to play for you anymore. That news changed a lot of things for a lot of people because now the small list of people that teams he's willing to go to were the 49ers. Reports had him being okay with going to the Raiders. And for me, as a Browns fan, I'm trying to have you stay in the NFC and keep it a buck. I ain't trying to see you over here in this AFC. Now, don't get it twisted. The Browns, they're upgraded to a point, but make no bones about it. If he does go to a team like the Raiders, they're automatically contenders. Automatically. I mean, it is what it is. That's how good Aaron Rodgers is. It's like LeBron. You know, LeBron, whoever gets to LeBron sweepstakes, guess what? That team's a contender off bat because he's that good. So when you take a look at the center, offensive tackle, it looks like they're trying to continue to get that running game up, continue to make sure that Derek Carr can do his thing. So that's a pick. And I think that's a Gruden pick where he can pick anybody. It's just, no one knows what him and Mike Mayock are thinking in their heads. Number 18 pick is in. 18 pick. The Miami Dolphins get a kid and he stays right at home. He stays and plays right in his backyard. Jalen Phillips, defensive end from Miami. This was a guy I really thought that the Browns should definitely take a look at. I thought this was a guy who I liked his versatility. I like the fact that he can do a lot of different things. He can do a little bit over here as far as his pass rush ability. I think he has some good, good placement, hand punch, enough power to stop the run and to get off blocks. I think he has good athleticism. And to me, once he transferred from UCLA and it looked like he was going to be medically not able to play, this is a miraculous story for a kid who a year or so ago I would have never expected to be even mentioned. But Jalen Phillips is a defensive end that I liked for the Browns. And he gets an opportunity to stay home right there in South Beach, Miami, in Florida. He's going to the Dolphins at pick number 18. On the clock now. We got Washington, the Washington football team. And those individuals, let me tell you about them. Now, the Washington football team, let me tell you this. When you look at their defensive line, it is spooky. Their defensive line is straight up spooky. I'm going to tell you what. They got Allen, they got Sweat, and of course, you know, you got that freak of nature, Chase Young coming off the edge, right? Those individuals, they have pretty much, to me, one of the best defensive line in terms of athleticism, speed, power, versatility. And I'm gonna tell you what, if they can ever get a linebacker or a couple of corners or a nice safety to be able to cover and be dynamic enough to cause some turnovers, they're gonna be a headache. They are going to be a headache. They got McLaurin. The Alex Smith thing kind of was a little weird. Came out that, they didn't want him to offer him a deal. Alex Smith has since announced his retirement. But when you look at Washington, if they can ever just get any sort of offense going, any sort of that kind of stuff, I think they could be a special team, especially with them defensive ends that they got moving around. Right now, we moving, man. Moving, man. Right now, live. We've been live for about an hour and 40 minutes. Right now, we're a couple of picks away from the Cleveland Browns at 26. This is an area where I think it might have a potential for the Browns to move up and do your thing and go and get a player, right? To go and get a guy. So keep it locked. We will break that down if the Browns do move up and out and go get a guy. But I'm very anxious to see who the Browns draft coming up at 26. Let's get to some of your comments. William Wise, man, once again, appreciate the super chat. How did the Browns background people not know about these dudes? In terms of, let's see, who has the most value left currently? Got you. I think when you're talking about how did they not know that these guys were bust, in terms of Manziel and all those other guys, I think one of the things that the reason why they didn't see it a little bit is because they don't really think about logistics of things. Just like fans in Cleveland, we're a very emotional fan base. And when you are sinking, and one of the most dangerous people in the world, lifeguards and people who work for Coast Guards or anybody that works around safety and water, they'll tell you one of the most dangerous people in the world is a person that's drowning, because they're undisciplined, they're flailing, they will drag you down as you try to save them because they're panicked, they're scared, they're not thinking correctly, and they're just in survival mode. For the Browns, I think they were in that same boat. You look at striking out. If we've gone from 2007 all the way up to now to a couple of these other picks, you now have an opportunity to see we've drafted Brady Quinn, didn't work out. Hometown guy. So the angle of a hometown guy didn't work out for the Cleveland Browns. You know what I'm saying? So they try another angle. What if we get unconventional and take Brandon Wheaton? I know he's old, but maybe he has maturity. Maybe he can come in and be ready to go. Maybe he can come in right now today and have our team ready to go. And he has a strong running game because we got Trent Richardson as well. We can just take the ball and hand it off, right? That's a thought process. You see what I'm saying? That's a thought process. But that didn't work out. And so now you go back and you take Johnny Manziel, who's the guy who's the splash player, the guy who is a person who is a lightning rod. People do follow him. People were, drawn to him like a magnet because of his charisma, his playmaking ability. So they said, hey, we tried it those other two ways. Let's try it and get the splashy person. That didn't work either. So it was just like they were sinking and swimming and didn't know what they needed to do, didn't have an opportunity to be like, yo, let's just sit back and think. Let's take a look at all our information. Let's bring in all the information from analytics, from the scouts, and make a informed decision. But when you're in survival mode and you know that, you got a owner that's getting rid of people every year, general managers every 2 years, you haven't hit on any quarterbacks, it's very easy and susceptible to just step up and say, all right, well, let me take that guy. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I keep it real. For me, I keep it 100. I was a Johnny guy. I was a dude who loved Manziel, like coming out of college. I thought everything that he was doing would be revolutionary, so to speak, because I didn't think, no, he's not as good as an athlete as Mike Vick or some of those other guys, or like a Vince Young. But what I do think that Manziel was good at was, it wasn't like he couldn't throw the football. That was never a situation. It wasn't a thing where, hey, I can't throw, or he's a gimmick guy. None of those things were situations where that was a thing. And so, for me, I was a guy that was like, oh, this could work. This definitely going to be something that we can move and get into. So when it didn't, I'm like, yeah, that's on me. That's on me. That is always on me. All right, so let's keep it moving. We will come back here in a moment. Let's look and take really quickly, update the draft board. Pick number 20 is coming up. The Giants have pick number 20 from Chicago, and they are on the clock. And at pick number 19, the Washington football team took inside linebacker from Kentucky Davis. And I think, when you take a look at him and his tape, he's a guy like, but the Bud Duprees of the world. Guys, Josh Allen is a guy who just came out for Kentucky a couple of years ago. And he's in that mode, pass rusher, athletic ability, can do a lot of different things for the Washington football team. So, they take him, and I just kind of foreshadowed that. I said, if they can ever get a dynamic linebacker, they can never get a guy who can make plays in the middle with that defensive line, they're going to be in trouble. It's yet to see if Davis can be that guy. But you can see the rationale and thought process of what ways that the Washington football team wants to build their team. And it looks like a strong defense, pass rush, athleticism. Davis fits the mold on that. So coming up here in a moment, we will get to your picks. So, let's just go ahead and kind of run down the next 2 or 3 teams. On the clock right now is the New York Giants. They are on the clock, followed by 21, Indianapolis Colts. And at 22, another AFC South team, the Tennessee Titans. So those are the picks coming up here as well. We'll keep you in contact and up to date with all these different picks, and you'll get an opportunity to get those recaps as well. And don't forget, we are less than 6 picks from the Cleveland Browns. If you want to get in here, make sure you do that. Come on in. Leave your comments in Facebook. When you come in, please like, please share. Definitely want to do that, but keep it locked. We're going to keep that situation moving, and you'll be able to be first to get reacted to as well. We did get 2 more super chats. We're down to 16. So, this is before the Browns even do anything. So all we need is, our goal for this stream is 16 super chats. Let's see if we can make it. Definitely appreciate anybody who's supporting the brand, supporting the platform. So you can also support the show and the stream at gbush.live/tip. gbush.live/tip. So let's go ahead and get to another one of these. Another one of the clips that it just makes no sense here. Let's go to, who do we have here? 2014, right? We 14. I think we have 15, right? I think we're moving to 15. See what we got. Oh, that's already Johnny. We already got you. Sorry, Manziel. We already covered you. Let's keep it moving.
Welcome back to the 80th NFL Draft. The Cleveland Browns are on the clock shock with 2 first-round picks, and it has not been a good season and off-season. Johnny Football, rehab. Josh Gordon, suspended for a year. Justin Gilbert, number 1 pick a year ago, personal issue, the corner, according to head coach Mike Peyton. And then for using a cell phone to communicate to coaches during the games, Ray Farmer, who's making the picks, but the first 4 games of the season, he can't really be active as the GM. So the Browns, who picked 12 and 19, who despite it all were 7 and 9. Remember, Hoyer's gone. Johnny Footballer, Josh McCown is going to be your quarterback. A lot of what they've touched lately is turned to stone. Here's a draft with a chance for them to pick twice and see what they do. Cleveland Browns, of course, in a division where Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati are formidable in playoff.
With the 12th pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Danny Shelton, defensive tackle, Washington.
He's my favorite player in the draft. He's not only is he an All-American, an academic All-American, he's, of course, Samoan heritage, which is why the dress tonight. His mom preached education. He's an emotional player from Washington. He's, as we say, scholar in addition to athlete, and a unique kind of player on the inside of the defensive line.
Yes, you think about Mike Peyton, Haloti Ngata connection. There was comparisons to Haloti Ngata with Danny Shelton until he ran that 5'6", 440, and that took him from the top 10, moved him down a bit. He goes to 12, which he's got to be thrilled about. I really thought going into 2014, he was a plugger. He was a stay-at-home type. He wasn't going to be a very high pick, maybe a second-round pick, but he kicked it up several notches. He became a dominant player this past year, played the best football of his career, 93 tackles. How many times do you see an interior defensive lineman lead his team in tackles? They did so most of the year. Had 9 sacks, 16 and a half tackles for loss. His first 3 seasons, guys, combined, 7.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. 7.5 went to 16.5, 2.5 went to 9. He became a much more dominant presence getting into that backfield, Lewis, and wreaking havoc.
Absolutely. 126 rushing first downs last year. That's what the Cleveland Browns defense gave up. 7 more than the next closest team in the National Football League. He'll address that right away. Now, as far as his pass rush is concerned, Chuck Smith, former defensive end of the Atlanta Falcons, a teammate of mine, worked with Danny Shelton, and he told me, look, do not sleep on his third down pass rush ability. It is going to improve. His conditioning is going to improve. He's going to continue to prove as far as being a 3-down football player. He's going to be a nice addition to this multiple scheme that the head coach and defensive coordinator like to run up there in Cleveland. So this is a great pick for the Cleveland Browns.
He's a gifted athlete. We take that 5'6", 4" and say he's not a very good athlete, but he had a 30.5 vertical. 30.5 vertical for a kid who's 6'2", 340. Did 34 reps. So athletically outstanding. The 40 time bothered a lot of people. How many 5'6", 440 defensive tackles make it big in the NFL?
But he has functional playing speed. You see all the plays that he makes on the numbers. His stamina, his effort, his playing range is rare for a big man. He can crush double teams. I love the way this kid plays. I hope Mike Peyton tells Shelton to knock on Johnny Manziel's door, Josh Gordon, Gilbert, get these young Cleveland Browns together. They do have a lot of talent. They made themselves better today.
Hey, John, on our pregame, we interviewed the commissioner. We say he's got to be ready for the chest bumps and everything. Well, just a moment ago, when this young man was drafted, check this out. And not only the hug, and there goes the commissioner. So he made his first sack at the draft.
Well, we say, boom, he plays with leverage, right? He was a shot putter, wrestler in high school. Roger Goodell found that out.
Well, and he, can he be Haloti Ngata? Can he be a Don Terry Poe? Can he be a Vince Wilfork? Those are the best in the business at those positions. That's a lot to put on a young man, but you know he's going to work at it.
Yeah, I think making those kind of comparisons, it's just unfair for players when they come into the National Football League. You're just setting them up for failure. You're putting expectations on them that are just unreasonable. One thing I do know is this, in that division with Pittsburgh, Cincy, Baltimore, they can run the rock. And you better be able to shut them down. So as John said, you can get the third down and start rushing the passer. He'll help them do that.
Man. Danny Shelton. For me, I think this is probably, if we want to say biggest bust, if we want to talk about the biggest, disappointments as quarterbacks, this for me probably was the biggest lackluster pick. When you look at Danny Shelton, like from my perspective, I nobody in Cleveland was excited about that. Nobody. You draft a nose tackle. I mean, you drafted a nose tackle with the 15th overall pick. Like, you took and he wasn't a 3-down lineman. He was never in any sort of packages or sub packages or the nickel or any pass rushing stuff. None of the above. He was nowhere to be found on that. So when you take a person who is a large man, right? Get it. But as you can hear him say, like, he ran like a 5'7" or something. Now, that's really moving compared to people in the general population. And that's kind of scary how fast that is for somebody his size. However, you can't take that person with limited pass rush ability, limited ability to affect the game on nickel or passing downs. You're basically a 2-down lineman, and you look at what they did. They draft Danny Shelton there, and that's when you start to look and say, how is the Browns so terrible for these many years? How are the Browns that bad? And it's because of moves like that. Taking a nose tackle at 15 is people crack me up, always say, look, you can never take a running back in the top 10. You shouldn't do it. Okay. But there's also other things that you can't take in the top 10, like guards and nose tackles. Those people don't carry the value, especially when you're talking about reaching the second part of their contract, right? So you're going to have to have a player like him play very well, and then you're going to have him get to a point where you're going to operate. You're going to exercise his 5th year. You're going to sign him long term, and are you going to pay that amount of money for a defensive tackle that doesn't play pass downs? No. And, I think Shelton went on to win Super Bowl as a rotational player for the Patriots. But in terms of where he is in his career, where he was taken, by no means, shape, or form is this guy worthy of the 15th pick. And I think it was one of the most lackluster picks in drafts of all time, because the Browns not only had a 1st-round pick, once again, go back and look at it. 2012, 2 1st-round picks. 2007, 2 1st-round picks. 2014, 2 1st-round picks. Now you're back again with 2 1st-round picks, and you get with the 1st pick, Danny Shelton. I think not, homie. I think not. Let's go ahead and update the draft board here really quickly. So let's see what we got going on right now. At 20, Daniel Jones, 20. Daniel Jones gets his guy. Daniel Jones gets a playmaker. At 20, we have wide receiver Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Florida loves the Percy Harvin types. We call them tweeners. We don't know if they're running backs or slot receivers. We don't know if they're good enough to run routes and beat solid coverage from nickelbacks. But we don't know that they can take the level of pounding to be an everyday running back. Think of guys like Parrish Campbell. Think of guys like he's one of those guys that fit into that mold. Corey Philly Brown fits into that role. Curtis Samuel, guys like that. Percy Harvin, guys that don't really have a position, but they are explosive when they get the ball in their hands. They're quick twitch. They're just dynamic people who you got to kind of look at getting the football to. And I talked a little bit earlier about, receivers benefiting the most of the way the game is working. Well, I think it comes down to that same with some of these athletes, because now athletes are people who you just kind of got to get the ball to. If you can get them the ball and, get them in some open space, they can make some plays. And I think that's you see a lot more of those individuals popping up around the country because of the offenses that spread teams are running in high school earlier, which coincides and correlates to what they're doing in the college football game as far as spreading people out and working matchups. So now you're starting to see these undersized tweener running back slot kind of guys like Kadarius Toney, who are basically being picked. It's all about, can you find a way to get them the football, though? And so Daniel Jones gets an opportunity. Saquon Barkley's coming back. Daniel Jones, you on the clock too. You're on the clock, Daniel Jones. Let's keep it real. A lot of people weren't enamored with you coming out. We were like, you're going to grab him from Duke. I think we were surprised a little more that you were more athletic than we thought. But, this is your year. You better take a really, really big step for you to keep your position, to keep your job, because we see what happened. Teams aren't waiting no more for that. Teams are not waiting for that in any way, shape, or form. You see what happened to Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, guys like that. Even with the Browns to a certain extent, Baker Mayfield, they could have gave him that extension, right? They could have been gave him that extension. But they want to see what he has to offer that 5th year. Teams are no longer going to give you all that guaranteed money. And since the contracts are not like the Sam Darnold contracts, you may have to eat a couple of years of some dead money, but in general, it's not a suicide mission if you can't find a franchise quarterback and you find out, hey, we swung and missed on that one. We're going to have to come back to the drawing table on that. 21, Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye goes to the Indianapolis Colts at number 21, defensive end from Michigan. I like this guy a lot. I think Kwity Paye was a guy who was delivering, some of, to me, some of the most relentless tape. His arms are a little short for my liking as a position player coming off the edge. I like my guys like Jalen Phillips. I like those guys with more punch. I like those guys and individuals with a sense of having longer arms, locking, extending, shedding, getting guys off you. Kwity Paye's arm length is a little short for me, but when it comes to his productivity, when it comes to his burst, his get off, his punch, his availability, he's just explosive in a phone booth. And what does that mean? When you are a lineman, you have to be able to move and shake and do some things inside a confined area. And Kwity Paye is explosive as a 5 technique. He can play defensive end. You can kick him down to tackle, and he still possesses that get off, that burst that makes it difficult for guards to really basically block him. So you have that guy going 21, and I think that is a great pick for an already great defense up there in Indianapolis. So we'll come back. We'll get to that. We have a couple dudes back on the board, counting down who on the board right now. Number 22 is the Tennessee Titans. They're on the clock, followed by the Minnesota Vikings. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 24. So look, Browns got a lot of guys still on the board at 26. It looks like they were able to stand pat, hang out, don't do anything, not move any picks. And it looks like they may be able to stay right where they are and get a guy who they think is going to help them out. So let's keep it moving. Let's get to some of your comments. As always, man, let's get to some of your comments. And don't forget, reaction right here. Come on back. We'll get your reaction. Be the first person on G Bush Live, as always. And then thank you as well. We are 15 for our stream goal. 15, more for our stream goal. As far as super chats or donations, you can donate at gbush.live/tip, or you can just use Super Chat as well. Let's talk about another second round pick. We previewed Danny Shelton. Talked about what Danny Shelton was doing, right? But, for Danny Shelton, the Browns, you think couldn't get a little worse. You think, hey, I can't get worse. I've already got a defensive tackle. At the time where we were sitting there, we're like, okay, cool. We got 2 picks. Maybe they just wanted to solidify the defense. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. Cool. We're not even going to sweat it. We got another pick. And so when they had another pick coming up, 4 short picks later, 3 to 4 picks later, they were right back up on the clock, and nobody in their mom thought that this was about to be something that they was cool with getting. Boy, oh boy, this is crazy.
Now the number 19 selection, which is the spot of the Buffalo Bills. But if you remember last year, the Bills moved up just a tad in the first round to get Sammy Watkins. They made a trade with Cleveland, so hence, among others, this is their pick, the 19th overall. Remember, Danny Shelton, nose tackle, has already been selected by the Browns.
With the 19th pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Cameron Irving, guard, Florida State.
Cameron Irving snapped the ball to Jameis Winston at the end last year. So, since it's spelled the same way as the real doctor, Mel, he's Dr. C.
I'll tell you what, Boom, you think about a kid who was a defensive lineman in 2011, played in 13 games, had a sack, had 20 total tackles. He moves to left tackle. Now, they thought he could maybe become the next Walter Jones. He never did at left tackle, even though in 2013 he held Vic Beasley without a sack. This past year, he starts out, you think about playing left tackle, the offensive line struggling. Brian Storks moved on to the NFL. They move him to center. November 15th, actually it played some November 8th against Virginia. He solidified that line. Roderick Johnson, the freshman, came in, moved in at left tackle, and that allowed Florida State offensive line to really get it going after having some major issues. He's huge. He's a gifted athlete with great upper body strength. My question is, where does he fit in? You got a center you took in the first round. He's not a left tackle. Is he a guard or a right tackle? They obviously think with this kind of athletic ability, the skill level he brings to the offensive line, that he has some natural versatility.
Well, he's going to get a chance to prove it, Mel. I think he's going to end up at right guard, possibly for John Greco. He could go over to right tackle. I know Mitchell Schwartz will be a free agent at the end of the year. Good player, versatile.
Yeah, this is a little confusing for me because quite honestly, I think Cam Irving's best position is offensive center. I think he comes into the league as a center and becomes a Pro Bowler very, very quickly. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns don't need him there, but this one's a little bit confusing. I would assume they're going to put him either at right guard or right tackle, as Coach said about Mitchell Schwartz, but I just think his best position in the NFL is center and where he could be a Pro Bowler in short order.
Well, the Browns decided the nose tackle, the center. They got the middle secured. Now it's the flanks they got to work on a little bit. So the Philadelphia Eagles, rather intriguing.
Oh, my goodness. D. Wright, Truth in Our Eyes says that Cam Irving move probably was one of the worst picks ever. It rivals some of the worst of all time. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, you take Danny Shelton. 4 picks later, you draft a kid who's supposed to be a left tackle who couldn't cut it at Florida State. They move him to center with like 5 games left in the season. 4. You pick a guy, they moved his position 4 games in a year, didn't have a position on the offensive line, doesn't understand what's going on. And this is what you take in the draft? We got the middle figured out. Bro, this ain't baseball. This ain't a shortstop, second baseman, in a center fielder. What are y'all talking? Look, man, Cam Irving got here and couldn't crack the lineup anywhere. Riddick says, the best thing that he could have said there. I don't get this pick. His best position is center. You have a center. Why are you drafting a center when you need a left tackle or a right tackle? Then they alluded to something. Mitchell Schwartz was the right tackle at the time. You still had Joe Thomas at the time, but all of a sudden, you didn't even retain Mitchell Schwartz, who goes on, and we know the rest of his history is hindsight, but he goes on to Kansas City, becomes one of the best right tackles in the game, and it's like you have Cam Irving. I mean, to me, this was just this was just really egregious. The level of what this didn't make any sense to nobody in Browns history, nobody in Browns territory. This one for me just did not make sense in general at all. And I talked about this, and I think this is a really good opportunity to highlight this and kind of talk about the whole situation with Aaron Rodgers. And so now that it's come out that Aaron Rodgers wants a trade, and I think, let me check and see who's on the clock right now. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. We will preview that coming up in just a moment. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. The Tennessee Titans have already picked. We'll preview that pick as well when we definitely get back. But when you look at the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, for me, this is a classic case of when people say, well, the general managers are know more about football than we all knew. They've forgotten about football than we've ever known. You just got to take what they're saying and just take it, as face value and trust them. But the situation last year, which people now are trying to, in hindsight, think is dumb. But let's be clear. There was a lot of people, and I'm talking about big name media guys, top-notch media people that was running around talking about but look, though, it worked out because they had Favre, though. And then they got Rodgers. No, you got lucky. You got lucky. You got the lucky get out of jail free card. You got lucky with that. You pulled the San Francisco 49ers card when they had Steve Young. That was the successor to Joe Montana, arguably the greatest to ever do it at the time. You had two Hall of Fame quarters back-to-back. Two Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back. And instead of you doing what you're supposed to do, which was go get Aaron Rodgers a weapon, which is to actually go find somebody to go opposite of Devontae Adams, which is to find Aaron Rodgers a first round or second round talent, either at receiver or making your O-line better or making your tight end better, whatever the case may be. You did none of the sorts. You got cute, and you got cute in the worst possible way, because you got cute and took Jordan Love like you was setting up some progression. Like you was so arrogant to think like, oh, we got the Midas touch. We just gonna keep drafting these quarterbacks and they're gonna be just awesome. They're gonna be great. No, bro. No. What you did is you pissed Aaron Rodgers off, and he not only told you in no certain terms, hey, look, bro, y'all can put it out however you want it. You can do whatever you want to do, but guess what? That's on y'all. But I'm not playing here no more. I'm not doing that no more. And so general managers need to take this as a lesson, a learning lesson. And I've said this about every sport, and I've said it all the time. The draft is great. The draft is really cool, right? We like the draft. The draft is you got a lot of people who have unlimited potential in your mind. That's why people love the draft, because you can imagine that somebody's going to be the greatest person in the history of the game. They're going to be the greatest to ever do it. But you have no sight, no anything about it. Your imagination is bigger than what people's potential or their reality is. And the reality is GMs consistently put too much stock on young players. And you had Aaron Rodgers come off an MVP season, and it was the worst case scenario, because then he just showed you, while you guys are plotting on my demise and worried about how garbage I'm going to be in the next 2 to 3 years, me and Tom Brady just keep playing at our highest position. We just keep playing at our highest peak level. And instead of you finding people to go along with us to prolong my prime, to prolong our opportunity to win championships, you're talking about, I'd rather prioritize the future of an unknown rather than the guy you know that is probably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. It makes no sense. And to be truthful, the Green Bay Packers get everything they deserve on this one because they got cute. Y'all tried to get cute. Y'all try to be the smartest team in the room. And now what you're ending up with is this. Oh, you want Jordan Love? There you go. Play him. Go ahead, play him. Take it from us over here in Cleveland. It's a little more difficult than it looks. It's a little more difficult to get guys than it looks. We will anxiously be wondering within the last couple hours, weeks, days to see what team reaches up and goes out and tries to get Aaron Rodgers. Because for me, that's the two main storylines here. Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. Where are we going with that? Where are we going with that? So let's go back and let's go. And now we ready to go. Farley goes 22 to the Tennessee Titans, right? To the Tennessee Titans, Farley goes 22. And they look like they're replacing, Adoree Jackson, right? At corner. So he comes off the board. The medical didn't bother him. Offensive tackle Darisaw goes from Virginia Tech over to the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings getting offensive line help up front. Offensive line help. This one, 24, pick 24. Najee Harris, running back, Alabama. People have been talking about that was the natural progression, and they were going to draft him. James Conner was a guy who is not back in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers haven't been able to run the football. And Najee Harris was a guy that, most prognosticators, most draft analysts said this is an opportunity for Pittsburgh to at least shield Big Ben from some of his declining attributes and skill. And this is going to be something that they're going to try to get back to, the Steelers' way of doing things. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been pass happy so long, right? It's pass happy for so long. And I think they're trying to make a conscientious effort to get back to running the football with Najee Harris. They take him at pick number 24 in the first round, and out of Alabama. 25. We got one more pick, people, in Cleveland before we get to who we get. Pick 25 on the clock right now. You have Trevor Lawrence down there with Urban Meyer. Anxious to see where this goes. This usually looks like a pick where offensive line help, maybe running back, maybe receiver help. Those are all things that you got to look to do when you get a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the cliche thing and say we got to make sure that Trevor Lawrence stays injury free. Let's go out and get him a tackle. Let's go out and get him offensive lineman, and take the best available offensive lineman left on the board for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Urban Meyer. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do go with a receiver as well. But they have some receivers down there. They got a decent receiving core. Nothing to be nothing to be overexcited about, but they do have some playmaking ability on the outside. So this pick for me looks like a situation where they might be on the clock as well. And then we got to pick 26 with the Cleveland Browns. Pick 26 with the Cleveland Browns. We working our way up, man. Appreciate you guys out there, man, and with the super chats, and continue to do so. We will come back. When we come back, we'll be able to ready to react to what the Cleveland Browns do. But let's go ahead and take a look at the last guy who we all remember. This guy, he was infamous on Hard Knocks. This is probably the highlight of his career in Cleveland so far, is him getting drafted. And let's go down, take a spin down memory lane and see what's going on and remember who this kid is.
With the 15th pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Corey Coleman, wide receiver, Baylor.
Well, throwing in the end zone, touchdown. Corey Coleman, wide receiver. Oh, for a touchdown. Corey Coleman does it again. 2015 Biletnikoff Award winner. And don't forget, I'm a winner.
So your first wide receiver taken is not Laquan Treadwell, it is Corey Coleman.
And he's a dynamic playmaker. Think of Percy Harvin. That's the kind of playmaker he is. He's a quick start, explosive kid. He ran sub-4. He jumped 41 and a half inches. The whole key to him is he doesn't run a route tree. You're going to have to manufacture some touches to him early in his career as he learns.
And maybe, he just needs a quarterback who knows all about him. Oh, wait a minute. RG3 is sitting there in Cleveland and gets a receiver from Baylor. How about that? I like this kid's athleticism. Now, this guy's going to possibly even return punts or kicks for them. The run tree will be taught and be perfected over time. But he's a quick, dynamic receiver and a playmaker. I like him a lot.
You've got Hugh Jackson and Pep Hamilton, guys have coached receivers before, excited about putting this guy in offense. And he's one of those guys, you just put the ball in his hands and watch him. And my comparison with Steve Smith, this is an explosive, physical, angry young man when he catches the ball. He's very, very fast, very explosive.
20 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, he's got a ledge to him, which you like. So Corey Coleman is almost 5'11", 194. We talked about the explosive speed. He's a 4.35 guy. Had a great pro day, but he's got explosive run after catch. Got to maximize his touches, find creative ways to get him the football. And again, whether he's Percy Harvin or whatever, watch him out wide. 4.35, he runs away from Worley, who's a draftable wideout from West Virginia. Goal line, is he quick enough to get off heavy press coverage and create a target for his quarterback? Yes. If you play soft and off, just give it to him. Make you miss, get up the field, touchdown. Run after catch, football in his hand. Does he know how to run routes? No. But let me tell you something. He's special with the football in his hands, and he'll learn how to run routes. Charles, DJ, what do you guys think?
Well, I'll go ahead and start, Mike. Thanks for tossing it over. DJ, when I look at Corey Coleman, he was the top wide receiver on my board. We talk about the 4 routes he runs, but the explosive qualities that he has. Remember, we'll also see him run inside as a running back. They'll hand the ball off to him that way. And last but not least, you want to see a fun tape? Oklahoma 2014, he just ran their corners into submission. They didn't know whether to come up, get off, whatever, and he made plays all game long.
Well, I'll tell you what, me and Coach Shaw worked together in Baltimore, and I think now I see why we did, because we see players the same way. Steve Smith was my comparison when I watched Corey Coleman. That's why I thought he was the best wide receiver in this draft class. We joke around about hitch, slant, post, go. Those are routes he runs. But when you watch him, same size as Steve Smith, he can get vertical. And then after the catch, this guy is angry. I mean, he is fighting for each and every yard. He's ultra competitive, and that's exactly the way you describe a guy like Steve Smith.
And, of course, Corey Coleman was not Steve Smith in the least bit. Corey Coleman was not playing around. Corey Coleman was garbage. And the only thing Corey Coleman did was stay hurt and talk about how many kicks he has on Hard Knocks. That's it. That's all Corey Coleman did. All Corey Coleman did. And, you know, one of the things, the route running ability, they had a knock on it. Definitely knocked it. And that's the route running ability that we didn't see. Let's go right now. Running back Travis Etienne is now joining his former teammate Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, really likes to run his backs. I think you should do some things in terms of his spread. His spread has guys moving all around, handing the ball off. So Travis Etienne stays hanging out with Trevor Lawrence. And now we've seen that a couple of times wherever that you looked in the first round. Teammates, Joe Burrows and Jamar Chase, guys and individuals like that still figuring it out. And these guys come together and learn the rookie game and learn to be playmakers in the league all at the same time. So you got Travis Etienne. Clemson fans, we know what season ticket packages you want. You better get that DirecTV season ticket or Sunday ticket so you can watch these Jacksonville Jaguar games because they have the Clemson connection. And now we got number 26, the final position and the position that we want to talk about with your Cleveland Browns. Pick number 26 on the clock right now. The Browns still have Zaven Collins, still have Owusu Koromola on the board, still there. Multiple people still there. Is it a corner? Will this be a Russo? Defensive end out of Miami. Will it be a corner? Will it be a Newsome out of Northwestern? Still guys on the clock. The Browns have a lot of people in front of them. 26. Then we got the Baltimore Ravens picking 27 right behind them. Get ready to get your reaction in. Anxious to see what that is. We will be dropping that pick here in just a moment. You want to get into G Bush Live. If you want to get in and you want to get your instant reaction, feel free to do so. As always, and definitely help us reach our stream goal of 20 super chats, 20 super chats for this stream, the NFL stream. I want to thank everybody out there who has donated so far, all those individuals via super chat or on gbush.live/tips. You can do that as well. And if you do want to get the super chat, we'll make sure in the super chat you get an opportunity to get your questions and your reaction first. We'll read those and acknowledge you on the chat as well. Get those in, get your questions in. Looking forward to hear what you guys have. 26 is on the clock. It could be a lot of stuff for the Browns. Could be a lot of things here for the Cleveland Browns. Zaven Collins is a guy who the Cleveland Browns have everybody who says, what do you think? Linebacker from Notre Dame, linebacker from Tulsa. Which one is it going to be? If they do move this way, we batting pretty good. We've been calling out some stuff, man. And so for the last 3 or 4 years with the Cleveland Brown, I've been calling a lot of stuff. Let's see if it was one of those two names at linebacker. I called the Jarvis Landry trade. We called the Odell Beckham Jr. situation. We called that out a couple years ago. I told you rightfully, but it was the wrong move. I told you Freddie Kitchens would probably get the job. I said, you got to go after Kareem Hunt if he's available. And Dorsey did that. So far, Jadeveon Clowney, I was the guy at the top of the mountain screaming out Jadeveon Clowney and his fan club. That was me. That's what I was on. And we got that done. So now we look at 26 on the clock, and we want to see who do the Cleveland Browns pick at pick number 26 in order to add to this team, to add towards this talented front. Maybe it's a corner, maybe whatever the case it may be. It's going to be very interesting because the Browns are 26, Ravens at 27, and I think the Browns have a legitimate opportunity to make themselves better, and they were able to stay here at 26 and get a guy that they wanted. Staying at 26 and getting the guy on your board things fell to you in a certain way. Anxious to see what it is that comes down the pipeline with pick number 26. Get ready to step on in the G Bush Live with your reactions as well. And don't forget, coming up this weekend, I'm just not done yet. Coming up on Saturday and Sunday, make sure you check out the barbershop. I will be on in the barbershop 8 to 12 like we usually. I will also be back on again on Sunday on 92.3 The Fan. So if you can't listen to it, maybe you're out and about doing some other things, you can always listen to the barbershop on the Odyssey app. You can rewind it up to 24 hours if you want to hear that. Make sure you guys do that. And you can check out the barbershop. Let's go to some more of our chats. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we're good. We're just checking and seeing. Wow. There we go. Pick is in. Greg Newsome, and I am sorry about that. Zaven Collins is off the board. The pick is in. It is Newsome the second. We talked about it. Out of Northwestern. He is the guy that the Cleveland Browns have taken with the 26th pick overall. Let's get into it. Want to welcome everybody on in. Let's get into it. Put that reaction up and definitely get it going in terms of if figuring out what the Cleveland Browns are doing in terms of what it is that they did in the first round and bring that in. Come on in here. Come on. Let's go ahead and take a look at his draft profile, right? Let's take a look at some of his draft profile, and I'll read this off while people have an opportunity to come on in and be able to talk about Greg Newsome II draft profile. Height came in at about 6 foot and a quarter, 192. Cornerback, he's a junior, came out early. This is a draft scouting, profile from ProFootballNetwork.com. It says, and this is from one of their analysts over there, Tony Pauline's Greg Newsome scouting reports. And these are the positives. Nice size corner with terrific feel for coverage, feisty, mixes it up with receivers, and competes downfield for the pass. Quick flipping his hips in transition, fluid pedaling in reverse, rarely challenged by opponents. Quick to read and diagnose, instinctive, and gets his head back around to locate the ball. Possesses a nice move to the throw and solid ball skills. Here's some of the negatives that they do have on Greg Newsome II. Possesses average long playing speed and does not play in his play to his 40 time. So one of the things that people will look at is one of the knocks on people is they'll go back and look at your tape. They'll look at your tape and say, okay, are you playing as fast as you ran in the combine? Your combine tape says 4.43. Combine says, pro day says 4.4. But do you look as switchy as that? Do you look as fluent as that? Are you as fast as what you were projecting? And so those are one of his downsides as well. Pauline goes to say in his analysis, Newsome was a terrific corner for Northwestern the past 2 seasons and still has the skill to start at the next level. Speed is a concern, though Newsome should be able to play in the bump and run or even zone coverages. When you look at it and some of the things that he's able to do, he's been able to cover people more instinctual than what maybe his 40 time may say. And he's a guy that he probably is going to fit into a guy who can play in the slot, do different things like that. He has the short range explosiveness to facilitate breaks on incoming routes. And he also has recovery speed to shadow players who try to sneak around him and escape up the field. It helps that his hips are surprisingly fluid for his size. He changes direction with uncanny pace and seemingly transitions into his forward approach upon changing direction. So that is just a little bit of the draft prospects and the draft thought processes with him as well out of Northwestern. Let's get your instant reaction. Let's get it in. Come on in, get your instant reaction. So we got, let's see, William Wise. You're up so far. The question for the chat is, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Is there somebody out there that you would have liked better? Is there somebody out there that was still available on the board that you would have liked the Cleveland Browns to take, right? Was there somebody else available that you would have liked to see in terms of them getting a cornerback if it was a corner? Do you think they should have got a linebacker? What do you believe is something that when you look at it could be kind of nitpicky, or do you like to pick in terms of a cornerback? William Wise says, I like it. Let's see. Stanley Marrero says, I like it. And D Right Truth in the Eyes, it says, I personally wanted the linebacker, but the secondary looks pretty solid. To me, I would have, if it came to Newsome, it's yet to be seen what he's going to do as far as his upside is concerned on his playmaking ability and long speed. If it was me, I would have probably went linebacker too. However, I can't be mad. I'm not going to be upset or mad that they didn't do it, considering the fact that they did bring in Walker, considering that they did take Phillips last year in the third round out of LSU, and considering that they are going to use a 3 safety look, which is going to give you an opportunity to bring a safety up in a box as well. Let's see. Tedrick Vernon says, still wanted JOK. To me, that was the pick. To me, and it's tough. I don't want to second guess him, but to me, if you ask me man to man and say, G. Bush, how would you go about making this team better? How would you go about making this team dominant? How would you go about making this team become a dominant playoff caliber team in which you would be able to have a lockdown individual on every single level? I would have went with JOK as well. I would have took him because I feel like he would have really fit into what they were trying to do in terms of locking down tight ends, being able to roam the field. But I'm interested in seeing what exactly, the Browns and Andrew Berry say about him, Newsome, and why it is they pick those individuals. Let's go back to Stanley Marrero says, wanted linebacker, but think this was a best pick as far as the Browns' needs. You bring up a very good point here. Very good point. Very good point in terms of need. I think we need to examine that here in a couple seconds. And I'll ask this to the chat. Them taking a cornerback, does that tell you something about what the way they feel about Greedy Williams? Them taking a corner, does that tell you something or lead any sort of tea leaves or give you any insight into how they think Greedy Williams and his availability is going to come back? Because if you take Newsome and you look at somebody saying, okay, well, Newsome is probably maybe the fifth corner as far as draft grades are concerned, fifth corner. And if JOK, to me, out of Notre Dame, his draft grades fall anywhere between the number 1 overall linebacker, arguing with Michael Parsons, or Zaven Collins, or he was at least in that top 3 range in terms of that. So does this tell you something about the way they feel about Greedy Williams? Right? The NFL needs to replace Roger Goodell as the host. Hey, man, when you buddies with all the richest people in the world, some of the NFL owners, I'm pretty sure that they I think his job is safe. I think his job is announcing the game is safe, man. That's it. And let's see who we got, man. Greg Gracie 21 says, come on, man. No good GM can go into the season counting on Greedy. I'll give you that. I think this pick has more to say about where they think their needs are. And I'm going to give you this as well. I'm going to give you this as well. Let me tell you this. This also says something about this too. I told Denzel Ward. Hey, man. Denzel Ward. Do you believe this says something about how much money they're going to give him in the offseason? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you on that. Denzel Ward is probably going to want Jalen Ramsey money. And when you talk about Jalen Ramsey money, and you're talking about in terms of Jalen Ramsey, and he's getting almost $20 million a year, you have to take a look at the Browns roster and say, okay, well, I mean, if Denzel Ward is hurt a lot and Denzel Ward is slight of frame, and do we believe he's better than Ramsey, right? All these things have to be considered when you take another corner in the first round. And it doesn't matter where it goes as far as picks, right? It doesn't matter what position it is. You have to think about it. That's a first round pick. When you draft somebody in the first round, you're telling me that guy is going to be an impact dude. You're trying to tell me that guy is going to play for you. You're telling me that guy is going to be someone that you're going to, be considerate and is going to get some sort of contribution to contribute to this season. So, he's going to have Newsom's going to have every opportunity in the world to be the starting corner, right? You got Troy Hill who solidifies your slot. So you don't really need anything. So now you go into this season and say, all right, Greedy Williams, you better prove it. Show me something. And the word of Mystical, show me what you're working with. You better show me. Because right now, I looked at it. I said, these would signal. I said before the draft, if they took a receiver in the first round, that was putting Jarvis and Odell on notice. That's putting Jarvis and Odell on nervous. That's notice immediately, right? They got people on notice when you draft somebody in the first round. Same thing goes with corner. Same thing. So when you look at it, this pick has a lot to do with need. This pick has a whole lot to do with need. A bunch of stuff that has to do with need, to be truthful, because when you look at it, there's question marks there, and they wouldn't have took that pick and stayed at 26 and done that if they thought Greedy Williams and they thought Denzel Ward and they thought the guys that were already in that room were solidified, stamped, and ready to be counted on in 2021. You guys get your chats ready. You guys get your questions ready and put them in the chat. What do you think about the draft so far? Right now, our goal right now, we're at 15 super chats right now, 15 to still go. We still have a little bit of time before the end of the first round. That is our goal before the draft ends. Let's go back a little bit and recap some of the picks after the Cleveland Browns and get to it And coming in at pick 27, I kind of like this pick. Pick 27. The Baltimore Ravens, pick 27. They get Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Wide receiver out of Minnesota, Rashad Bateman is a guy that is going to go to Baltimore to try to help them, to try to make sure that they can get their situation solidified. And so Lamar Jackson can actually have some playmakers. Hollywood Brown is a one-trick pony. Hollywood Brown is a one-trick pony, and it's not even a one-trick. His route running ability, his slight frame, can he get off jam coverage? He's not a number one receiver. He's once again one of those novelties guys. And one of the things that I think is holding back the Baltimore Ravens is, they got the running game, right? Lamar Jackson is as dynamic a playmaker that we've seen in the league in a long time. However, the Baltimore Ravens had trouble at receiver, playmakers. When is the last time the Baltimore Ravens had playmakers? I mean, Steve Smith was at the end of his career, but they've never had a top flight, go get it, I'm a stud receiver. That's never been them. That's never been who they've been. Rashad Bateman is a guy from Minnesota who I liked a lot. I thought he was a little bit bigger than that. They got him listed under like 6 foot, a little bit under 6 foot, but I thought he was a legit 6'2". And I thought he played bigger than 6 foot. When you look at his tape, he looks like a 6'2" guy out there moving around doing his thing. So Rashad Bateman is a guy who I think was probably the next best receiver on the board. And I think Baltimore did the no-brainer thing in going out and trying to upgrade their firepower, because I think that when you look at this division, it's Baltimore and Cleveland. And I think Cleveland, with their free agency moves, have moved ahead of Baltimore. And Baltimore losing Orlando Brown and moving him to the Chiefs was a big thing to me, a really big thing. And we'll see if they're able to, put somebody in and fill and plug that hole. Brought in Zeitler from the Giants in the offseason at guard, former Cleveland Brown. So they're trying to do some stuff there. And I think this was a no-brainer for them at receiver. At pick number 28, the Saints bring in Houston defensive end. Turner, defensive end from Houston. This is another pick where I just believe like the Saints are always in some sort of cap purgatory. They're always in some sort of, cap hell, so to speak, So they always have to get guys to replenish what they have. Always have to do that. And so when you're looking at it, they draft a defensive end because they lose a defensive end in free agency. So they draft another guy, and we'll see how he works out a little bit in the first year after having Hall of Famer Drew Brees retire. On the clock right now is 29. 29 on the clock. You got Green Bay Packers and the soon-to-be, from all reports, the Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. What do you do here? I mean, do you get a receiver now? I think if you were, at 29 and you were the Packers, I would probably look to get a receiver here. And if they don't get a receiver here or any sort of help on the offensive side of the football, just know Aaron Rodgers is done playing there forever. It's looking like a 90% chance that he probably, won't ever come back. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's gone. Sorry. That's the, oh my goodness. Sorry, bro. They draft Stokes out of Georgia, who's a cornerback. Sorry, Green Bay Packers fans. Aaron Rodgers has played his last game in Green Bay. sorry. Not only was he mad before that you never got him any receivers or anything, you go in the year that you're trying to ask him to come back, you still don't get any help offensively, and you draft a corner. Another corner. It's like the 17th year in a row that the Packers continue to draft defensive players who don't do anything. All right, it's been nice knowing you guys. I'll see you guys in same place, same time. You'll be drafting a little bit higher next year unless Jordan Love is the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. We'll see how that works out for you. Oh, man. So let's keep it moving. Crazy. Let's get to some of your comments in some of your thought processes. I'd say, man, this is so true. Oh, man. Greg Grace 21 says that pick was a huge FU to Rodgers. That I couldn't have said that more. That was one of the biggest, don't let the door hit you in the butt before you leave up out of here. Good gracious. I don't understand. Packers, for real? This how y'all feeling? This how you feeling? We'll continue to go on. Cleveland Browns. How do you feel about it? How are you feeling? We got a little bit of time left on the little bit of time left here in the draft. 3 more picks. Man, I've been rocking with you guys this is dope, man. We've been on for a little over 2 hours and 51 minutes. Shout out to you guys. Salute to you guys. 38 people in the chat right now. Please do me a favor, hit that like button. Share this. Just be a person who's interested in sharing content and supporting G Bush Live. I try to do this stuff and I do it just for the love. A lot of people, sometimes ask me, dude, like, you do a radio show, why would you do YouTube and a radio show? Well, I like interacting with the people. I like doing my thing, and I like giving people an opportunity. So, for me, the media is great. And for me, I think there's a lot of people out there that say one thing and then do another thing. A lot of times after we were going through different things in this country where we were really divided along racial lines, a lot of people said, what could I do to, for African Americans and to kind of bring us back together and different things like that. And I said, well, it's not all about rhetoric all the time. It's about sometimes too your actions. Sometimes there's a lot of people out here that can get on the internet and type a bunch of stuff, and that's cool. But what are you actually doing? Are you actually out here? Are you actually out here talking to people? Are you actually out here giving opportunities to people? Are you actually out here inviting people on your platforms? Are you actually out here, sharing olive branches to different things? So, for me, one of my funnest segments that I do on my channel, and if you haven't subscribed to me on YouTube, and for everybody who is going to be watching this later, one of the funnest things that I do, and I see BP in the barbershop, my man BP on Twitter, he's been on. One of the things that I really love doing is a series called X's and O's with Regular Joes, because what it does is it gives me opportunity to, talk to the fans. I could talk to fans and, I can get on and interview them. I interview people all the time on my regular show, but for me, it's enjoyable to hear people and their perspective, especially when you got one of the best fan bases in the game as far as the Cleveland Browns is concerned, and to be able to do it this year when we look like we're going to have an opportunity to open back up. We got an opportunity to be at these games, and we watched the Browns be terrible for, 20 years. So I really am excited about the opportunity of reaching out to just regular people and talking about sports in general, and especially about teams that we love. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. And your donations and your support help me continue to do that, to put out quality content, to be able to, go out and reach out and to do these things. So I appreciate everybody who's donated. I appreciate everybody who's donated any monetary amount for Super Chat or whatever the case may be. And you can still continue to do that at gbush.live/tip, and we appreciate that. Let's see, man. Let's see. Stanley Marrero says, let's see. Oh, you can definitely go to, and I'll put a link in it and you can check. I'll put it in the chat. You can go simply to gbush.live tip, and I think it will bring you directly to the page, and you can just put it monetary in there. You could do anything, any amount that you would like to, and it takes all major credit cards, all major anything, and it automatically processes it. So that's, if you're interested in doing that, you can go to gbush.live/tip, and I'll just throw that out there as well. Let's get to BP. BP says, I don't love the Browns pick. Cornerbacks to me are a dime a dozen. This must mean Greedy ain't ready. I think that might be a thing, bro. I think that's a huge thing. And I think somebody else talked about that before too. Somebody else talked about that a little bit too. I think when Greedy Williams, when they said Greedy Williams is pretty much only going to be 85%, and trust me, I talked about Caleb Farley in the back. I mean, I still have 3 herniated discs in my neck. And so I know what nerve damage is. I know what it is not to be able to do certain things and to have certain level of functions. So, I got a herniated disc at C4, C5, and C6. And so what that it does is it impinges on your nerves coming out of your spinal column and vertebrae. And so basically, with any herniation, anything that's cutting and anything that is in your spinal column that is on a nerve is going to cause issues, right? For me, I'm at a point where they aren't operable, because in terms of, it's too risky, because my spinal cord at those levels are overlapping the herniation. So it's really just pretty much, I can't have surgery in it. I had surgery last month. Excuse me, not last month, but I had surgery in 2018 to kind of clear up the worst one and the one that was actually able to be cleaned up. Other than that, the other 3 are still in there, and I'm just with pain management with a neurological doctor. I'm not saying that to say this is about me or whatever. What I'm saying is I'm trying to paint the picture of what it's like to have nerve damage. And trust me, I'm cool. They told me after I had the herniations, don't get on no roller coasters no more, right? I'm like, what? What do you mean don't get on roller coasters? There's like, yeah, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not saying that you're going to just be paralyzed or die, but I just wouldn't do it. And Greedy Williams has this stinger. And the stinger sounds crazy, but stinger is really a thing. It's basically nerve damage. And, listening to what he went through and how he went through it, and, people just questioning him, I know how difficult it is, because I ain't even hitting nobody. Sometimes I wake up just doing regular work. I wake up and my neck is just crazy. Crazy. Boy, I tell you, it is so crazy as well. Let me continue and recap some of the stuff that we got here. Greg Russo, defensive end out of Miami, is going to the Bills. For them, this is a nice pick. Bills already have a solid defense Russo is a freak of nature. He's almost like 7 foot tall or something. The kid like has been growing consistently for I don't know what it seems like the last 2 or 3 years, out of control. So Russo is a guy who has a large upside for the as far as a pass rusher is concerned. However, I don't like his production. I think it's too much of a risk. But at 30, especially where the Bills are, because the Bills are in a position just like the Browns. The Bills believe that they're Super Bowl contenders. They believe that they got an MVP level quarterback. They got Stephon Diggs. They have the requisite pieces and parts to do what they need to do. And I think this pick is less risky for them because they've done a lot of different things already to solidify their other parts of their roster. On the clock right now, 2 more picks. We have the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now for Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens, so to speak, have this pick from Kansas City. Kansas City was going to take this, but Baltimore received this pick from offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. So when you look at this, they weren't, they made the trade to Kansas City because they weren't going to sign Orlando Brown Jr. back. He wanted to play tackle, left tackle. They said no. He looks for a new extension. And because in Kansas City, they had to get rid of basically their top 2 tackles in order to stay within cap relevancy, given the fact that, Patrick Mahomes makes $500 million or something crazy. They needed the help. So they make the deal. Baltimore is on the clock here. I would not be surprised if you see, this is definitely in my opinion, definitely a lineman. You lost 1 lineman. They probably will go back in and get another lineman. They have the receiver to give Lamar Jackson another target or a true, try to find a true number 1 receiver, and you're not counting on Hollywood Brown. They do have J.K. Dobbins, who's basically taken over from Mark Ingram. So J.K. Dobbins will be your bell cow back for the Ravens. And then you still have Mark Andrews, of course, one of the better tight ends in the league there as well. So you have, with those picks and some of those things, I think this pick is pretty safe to say it's offensive line help to try to tool and to make up for that. And then we go to 32, and we have Tom Brady in the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 32, finishing it up the first round. So crazy. In my opinion, I can't even really tell. I really can't even I can't think about why or how the Buccaneers won. It still hits me like Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. It just don't seem right. It's crazy, man. Shout out to everybody who is watching this on repeat. You'll be able to watch this on repeat on the Barbershop YouTube page. You'll be able to check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. Make sure you hit that like button on this video. Make sure we can get this out to individuals. Make sure that the content can be seen. It really helps out with the algorithm and getting my videos shown throughout YouTube. So I would appreciate if you do that. Also, shout out to everybody that's on Twitter watching and doing the reactions on Twitter at about almost midnight a little bit here. A little late trying to get into the draft and guys got work and school coming up. So I want to thank everybody for rocking with me, and whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on Twitter, whether you are on Facebook, whether it's the Barbershop or my regular Garrett Bush page. I want to thank you guys for hanging in there with me almost a minute towards midnight here on 2021 opening draft night. Now, here's the thing. The great thing about this is, and let's see, shout out to my man right here. I appreciate you, man. Adam, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I want to appreciate you. Thank you for everybody who has donated. That's 15 down. We're 14 still left to go. Thank you so much for donating. Your question is thoughts on the pick. Sorry, it wasn't here. No problem, man. We got all kind of time. The pick, to me, we talked about it a little bit. I like the pick. Would I have liked to take J.O.K., the linebacker from Notre Dame? Sure. Right? Sure, I would have liked to. However, I think this tells us more about where the position group is. I think they value what Newsome and what a strong secondary brings to the table. Right, Adam? I think when you look back at the weaknesses of what the Cleveland Browns' weaknesses were last year, it was the fact that they didn't have anybody opposite Myles Garrett or that can rush the passer and to even spell him after he got COVID. One of the things that I think that they found a way to do that is they've gotten Takk McKinley, who's a guy who's a former first-round pick. Who still has some upside, who still has pass rush ability, who's upgraded at the position. You still got Jadeveon Clowney, which was one of the guys the Browns have already said they wanted to target from Jump Street. So you've been able to get him, who's going to help once again with your athleticism, also helping out with the run and doing that as well. Go get Malik Jackson, a guy inside who can be a disruptor, a playmaker out of Philadelphia. You get him in free agency. And one of the things that Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com talks about is the thought process that you get Sheldon Richardson, who may have an opportunity to come back. Sheldon Richardson may have an opportunity to come back. And they may do that after the draft comes up and other teams have an opportunity to look to see what holes they need filled or whatever the case may be. If Sheldon Richardson, who played well last year, great dude in the locker room, just a really good dude, if he is interested, the Browns definitely have an opportunity to bring him back at a lower cap number, save them some money, and still have another rotation piece to go up front. So for me, I think the Browns feel more solidified as far as how to make their pass game better by grabbing Newsome at corner. And I think that tells us a little bit about where Greedy Williams may be in his production or whether where he's at in his rehab. Because when you look at it, Greedy Williams was here. Greedy was here. And the year that he was there, I mean, he didn't really destroy it his first year anyway. He really didn't make very many plays. We didn't see that level of playmaking ability that we saw in LSU that made every Browns fans excited and happy to have him because, we didn't get the chance to see those splash plays. We didn't get a chance to see those wild moments. So when you miss a whole nother year after that, now it's just kind of like, okay, well, now you compound out with the fact that you have a neck injury, you have a nerve injury, and you didn't produce at the level we wanted to begin with. We can't afford to have somebody back there as opposite of Denzel Ward, who's going to be able to not be able to hold down that other side. And it also sheds some light on Denzel Ward. If Denzel Ward wants $20 million and the Browns are like, well, we got to pay Teller, which his contract's up. Nick Chubb his contract's up. Baker Mayfield's contract is up. They're probably already going to let Njoku walk because his contract is up. You look at Hollywood Higgins, he's on a 1-year deal. Clowney on a 1-year deal. Takk McKinley 1-year deal. Walker 1-year deal. Malik Jackson 1-year deal. Are they going to be able to pay all these people, especially if one of those guys, say Clowney or even Teller has a huge year? They're going to command a level of money. So I think this is a hedge bet that if Newsome can come in and look like he's a stud, they can afford to, move on from Denzel Ward, or they don't need to count on Greedy Williams to come back at 100%. Man, let's see. Let me check here, man. So still continue to go here. And it looks like the pick has gone in. Pick went in. And I think the last NFL, the last pick came up. And let's go to, let's continue to move and see the last couple picks there. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come up, and then they end the draft. So right now, let's look at the people, and this is very. Let's look at this now. Now, this always happens with the Browns, right? This always happens with the Browns. You guys come on in. We're gonna finish up here. Get your questions in. We're gonna finish up here really quickly. If you do want to get in and do some super chats, you can do that. I can take your questions. And you know, we're going 3 hours strong. We're gonna wrap it up here in a moment, and we're gonna definitely get into some different things that get into some stuff that we can talk about. Now, let's take a look at this. Now, one of the things that we're talking about is the best available players left on the board. That's always my fun thing to do. Best available players that's still available on the board, and I think you guys will be excited about this. One of the guys who we talked about, JOK is here. JOK is one of those people who is in the building at this moment, and he's an individual who we're looking at it. The Browns are still here. He's still available to be had. Let's take a look at the best available. Right now, he's the number 1 player overall on the board out of Notre Dame. He was projected to go in the first round. He's fallen to the second round. His position overall on ESPN was at 12th rank. He has a 91 grade on ESPN.com. And his draft analysis says he's instinctive, agile, fast, weak side linebacker who always seems to be around the ball. He has fluid, smooth, and fast in coverage. He flashes the ability to pressure quarterbacks with closing bursts and suddenness. So he's the number 1 guy on the board. When you look at it, the Cleveland Browns are back up here on the clock soon. So let's take a look at some of the other guys who are the best available according to NFL.com. Trayvon Mooring is a safety out of TCU, still there. Elijah Moore, receiver out of Ole Miss, still available. Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State. Christian Barmore, Alabama defensive tackle. We've heard people talk about him being there available in the first round and somebody the Browns could possibly take. Listen, and we talked about Aziz too. The outside linebacker from Georgia, he's still there available. He's a guy that we mentioned in the first round. He's dropped into the second round. Asante Samuel Jr. is a cornerback, Florida State. He's still there. Javonte Williams, running back, North Carolina, is still on the board. Ronnie Perkins, Oklahoma defensive end, is still there. And when you look down and continue to go through some of the names, some of the big names that you may still recognize, Terrence Marshall Jr., wide receiver from LSU, is there, still on the board as well. So you still have some guys, still names, still people on the board, still guys that have the ability to do some things. Let's take a look and see if I can get where the Browns are drafting tomorrow. So I think the draft order may be in here. Let's see. Let's take a look and see if the draft order is here. And we might be able to get that before we get out of here. If not, we'll be able to possibly see. But there are some guys that are still available there for you. There's some guys that can still give you some potential. And wouldn't it be crazy if the Browns can get them too? If they can get JOK too, that's kind of crazy, ain't it? That's kind of nuts, right? If you can get JOK too, I mean, you looking at something. You looking at something there. All right. So the Browns, they have picked. Let's see. They have a second round. They got a second round pick. Yeah, I think they got a second round pick. Yeah, 27th third round. Yeah. I think they might be able to do something. We might be able to do something, man. We might be able to work that out, man. Definitely, man. 38 people rocking with me. And definitely, man, want to thank you guys for coming on in, man. All those people that have been here for so long. And when you come in, hit that like button, hit that, subscribe button. We do appreciate you. Let's go ahead and rapid fire this before we get up out of here, man. You guys want to still donate a super chat, let me know. But let's go ahead and rapid fire these and get some of your questions out there so everybody can see them. And we'll do that. We'll do it coming up here. So let's go. Mick the Dog says Aziz is still there. Love it. That's one of the guys I got my eye on. I got all eyes on him. All eyes on him. Love it. Perkins defensive end. OU still out there. Rondell Moore still out there. Mick also says, I would like to see us trade up into the top of the second. Now, the Browns have been known to do that. They did it with Greedy Williams. They've been able to get some good guys, Greedy Williams and Delpit last year. And there we go. Adam says they have pick number 59. Gotcha. Tap, same thing. What up, Herman Jackson? Shout out to you out there. Hey, man, what you feel about them Ravens? How you like that draft? How you like the Ravens and what they did? Let me know, dog. And my G says, Mick the Dog says, I totally agree. Totally agree. We don't need 9 picks. The Browns do not need 9 picks. This is an opportunity right now that the Browns can creep up on somebody. You took the corner. Let's continue on and let's trade up. JOK's there. Aziz is still there. There's a lot of guys that were projected first-round picks. First-round guys that are still there. Still ready to be had. And so for me, I'm always looking to double up. I'm always looking to get me something that I need guaranteed. It's like going grocery shopping. I'm going to go grocery shopping, and I know I need to get some staples, some bread, some milk, some cereal, some meat. But I also got to give me a couple snacks for myself, though. Let me get a couple snacks for myself, dog. I need that couple snacks. You see what I'm saying? That's what I need to be doing. I need a couple snacks. And the Browns have an opportunity now that they can go hunting for some snacks, some junk food, some empty calories, so to speak. Because you meaning to tell me that you can get him and Newsom? That's how we can really be dominant. That's how we really could get up. Let's go, man. Tyler Casser says Ravens did well, unfortunately. Well, the Ravens always draft well. You don't believe that the Ravens are going to fall off anytime soon. The Ravens are going to be there all year. That is going to be a barn burner all year. They're going to be there. Bateman will end up being the best receiver in the draft, no cap. I'll tell you what, though. I like Bateman a lot. Go look at his YouTube stuff. Watch his route running ability. He competes. I asked Quincy Carrier. Shout out to Quincy Carrier. He was on the other day, and I said, give me a guy who in 2 years that didn't go, that's not Jalen Waddle, that's not Devontae Smith, that's not Jamar Chase, that is going to be the dude that say, wow, man, this dude got 3 Pro Bowlers under his belt. That's Bateman all day. All day. Herman Jackson said, we're looking good, but y'all can run every nickel and dime package with Newsome. Salute. You know, I hope that's the thing. I hope that's something that we need to do. And my man Superland, just a couple snacks. That's all we need. Hey, if we get, tell me about it. It wouldn't. Tell me about it. It wouldn't be lit. Come on now. We have 2/3 and 2/4 time to get one on the phone. I'm looking to do that as well. Man. I'll tell you guys, man, it has been really enjoyable. To do this. This is the first time I ever did it. I didn't really even plan to do it. It was kind of like, okay, let me just jump on and jump on and see what we got to do. And let's see if we can, come do some stuff. And so basically I didn't plan on even be on here that long, but it turned out to be a blast, man. It's fun when you are able to do it and you interact with the people, man. So 3 hours and 20 minutes. Shout out to you guys. As always, I want to thank every single person out there who has donated. Want to thank every single person who's supporting the barbershop, who's supporting G Bush Live. I'm always humbled. I'm so humbled when people say, man, yo, I love your show. I love what you do, man. I love it. I'm humbled because I tell people all the time, man, I'm on one time a day, one time a week. I'm a weekend host, man. But you guys make me feel like on top of the world because of the love that you guys give me for what I do. And to be truthful, man, if it all stopped today, I'd be happy where I was at because I didn't expect to even get this far so far. So I want to thank you guys for supporting me, always, showing me love, always mentioning my names with guys that do shows 5 days a week, which is crazy to me sometimes. But I want to thank you for propelling me forward and doing that, man. So, and you give me opportunity to do predominantly Browns content. Who can do Browns content? We was 1-31 at one point in time. Who can just come out here and do Browns content and do the amount of views and do and just sit here and talk about the Browns? What other fan base would allow somebody to do that? That's how shows how strong you guys are. So I just want to thank you guys for your support. Thank you for what you guys have brought to the table. As always, keep it locked. I will be back. We'll be back Saturday, 8 to 12. If you can't listen to the show, use the Odyssey app. You can rewind it up to 24 hours. I'll also be on Sunday. We ain't done here. We're going to be talking about this. We'll be breaking this down. We'll have some great guests. We'll talk to John Costco, Pro Football Focus. He'll be on with me. As always, we're going to talk. I'm trying to get Quincy back on, Quincy Carrier. He'll talk about the move, and we'll do a lot of different things with that, man. As always, man, if you want to continue to support the movement and support independent media guys and support independent media content, you could go to www.gbush.live/tip to donate whatever you can to the show. Also, you can still do super chats as well. But I want to thank you guys for rocking with me. Hey, it's looking like the first day of the rest of the year. Cleveland Browns, man. We just keep knocking them out. We just keep giving them what we need. Now, tomorrow, if we can come up with JOK, Andrew Berry, shout out to you and your wife for having a beautiful daughter today. But you can deliver us another present if you can get us one of them ends and pass rushers. We'll see if that happens. As always, salute to you guys. Thank you for support me and doing what you do. We'll catch you up with you soon. You know what it is.
We'll be back.
And next we'll be back. And that was Johnny Manziel. I don't even think it was